must begin.
Hey folks, we're going to get started here in about 1 minute. Hey Celeste, hey Curly Rider, hey Rez. We'll see you here in about 1 minute. Alrighty, hello everyone. How we doing, folks? I hope everyone is having a great weekend so far. Hey Curly Rider, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you here. Hey No Man, welcome. Hello 100 Devers indeed. And also I want to thank Game Gremlin, Julia Medisha, Haza 6938, Kenny G up in the limousine, and Janelle and Agui Emmanuel, African Chizom, Zafan San, Jay White, and Sebit Takasa. Thank you so much for the follows, folks. Great to have you here. All those folks followed here before we went live, so I always like to say hi and acknowledge them. But yeah, how's everybody's weekend going? Did everybody have a good week? The weather has been wild where I live, but I don't know about you all. Crazy high winds and insane temperature fluctuations. That's spring in the Midwest for you. Most people don't kind of overlook the Midwestern United States in terms of like extreme weather. Like we don't have earthquakes and we don't have hurricanes, but boy howdy do we have some wild weather when the seasons change. Celeste says the weather has been in the 80s where I'm from. So nice. Yeah, we've had a couple 80-degree days here, and I think it's supposed to go down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow. So it's 80 degrees today. It's going to be 40 tomorrow. That's the Midwest. Curly says chillin', had some rain this morning. Yeah, I had a little bit of rain this morning too. No Man says, do you have any plans for doing Golang streams? That is something I've been wanting to learn for a while. Probably not. I generally pick up a new framework or language when I need to learn it for a particular reason, like if I have a use case. So for example, I recently learned Python because I had some things. I was working on a personal project that required Python, and I also had some use cases that I could use it for at work. So I learned Python for that. We're learning Laravel because I applied to a position that uses Laravel as the main framework. So I need to learn it, and I have an interview tomorrow. So I need to be able to speak somewhat intelligently about it. So that's why I'm learning Laravel. But I mean, hey, if something comes up in the future where I need to learn Golang, I absolutely will. I don't have that on my radar at the moment. Celeste says you sneeze and the weather changes. Absolutely. That's what March is all about. Oh, you're joining from Pakistan, no man. That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing where people are from and seeing where they're joining. Arvind, welcome. Good to have you here. They say, hi, how are you? It's my first time here. I'm working as a founding AI engineer DevRel at a startup. That's awesome. Very cool. What's your stack, Arvind? What do you normally use? It's your programming stack. Just curious. And also too, I do want to mention if you're new to the stream, welcome. These streams are generally kind of just educational sort of coding streams. We're pretty chill here. We're pretty low key. You're welcome to ask questions at any point. There's no such thing as a silly question or a stupid question. And also, normally I would say that you could turn on closed captioning or subtitles if you need them. But unfortunately, the website that I use to generate my closed captions is not working. It's down. So you will not be able to turn on closed captions for today's stream. I apologize for that. I'll need to find a new solution for captioning because my normal caption provider is the website is offline. So don't know what to do about that, but we'll figure something out, I guess. Yeah. And so today we're continuing our Laravel series. Oh, hey, Brown Skills. Good to have you here. Welcome. They say, have you been? Hey, I've been doing well. As you may have seen in my notification post on Twitter and Blue Sky, I actually have a job interview tomorrow for a position. It would be an internal position at my current employer. This position primarily uses Laravel. It's kind of a maybe use Laravel superpowers to fix their website. Yeah. um, but yeah, so I have an interview tomorrow for a Laravel position. That's not my current stack. So my current stack is more, JavaScript, React, Supabase, SQL, that kind of thing. So I'm working on, picking up just enough Laravel to seem competent. And, my other skills are going to be very transferable to this role, but I do want to be able to speak intelligently about Laravel and to hopefully have something that I can, if I do get another interview, to have something where I can pull it up and be like, hey, I built this in Laravel. This shows that I have the skills to do this work. Yeah. Arvind says, I mostly create my own project and record the video. So in JavaScript, I use React and Next with Tailwind and Python with Streamlit. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very similar to my primary stack is JavaScript and React with some Tailwind and Python. Yep. Oh, thank you, Arth. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Arvind. Hey, Bluebird. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. Thank you, Noman. Thank you, DevD. Yeah, good to have you here, DevD. Thanks, Browns. Yeah, it would be neat if it did work out. The nice thing is it's a position, like I said, with my current employer. So uh, it would be a nice internal kind of a transfer, but it would still be like a step up from my current role. I'm currently a senior data engineer, meaning that my role is primarily backend. So I mostly work with SQL and ETL pipelines and transferring data around, and I really like that a lot. I do love data engineering and backend work. But as if you've watched my stream for any length of time, I'm sure you know that I do stream full stack here in my free time. I do a bunch of full stack stuff. So this would be more of a full stack role, but still with a very heavy sort of data focus. So sort of a good fit for my skill set. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Katra says, what time did you start? We started, if you do exclamation point uptime, that'll give you the uptime count, but we've only been live for about 5 minutes. Shakespeare, hey, they say, I had a chance to work on a Python project at work this week, and I was able to contribute with only the knowledge I learned from Dr. Chuck's course and some Googling. Yeah. It's wild how much you can pick up from just taking a course and really following through on that, right? To just say, all right, I'm going to go through this course from start to finish. I'm going to apply what I'm learning. And then, you have just enough where you can get something done. Of course, Shakespeare, I'm so glad it was helpful for you. Oh, okay. You used Adonis JS. Arvin says they use Adonis JS Laravel for JS. Cool. No man says, so is AI taking your job or not? Absolutely not. No. That's such a common, misconception, right? Is I know you were joking there, but it's such a common misconception that we hear all the time that AI is going to take our jobs, and that's very much not true. Like I've said before, I don't hate AI. I use ChatGPT all the time to help me troubleshoot things. I, use various, things like Copilot and that type of thing to, help with boilerplate code that or help generate a SQL query, right, that I just don't want to write by hand. But one thing that AI can't do, right, is it can't see the big picture. It can't understand what the customer is asking for. It can't see whether something maybe fits with the standards and practices of your employer. It can't really understand security, like big picture security for code. And so that's why AI should remain a tool and not a replacement for developers. It's a wonderful tool, but it shouldn't replace us. Jeckard says, "What do you use for ETL scripts? Pentaho, Apache Hop. We use a more of a GUI-based tool called Informatica Power Center. It's a fairly old tool. It's not the newest tool on the market, but I mean, I work for a university, and that's just kind of how universities are, right? You're going to be using stuff that's maybe not the newest, but it's reliable. So yeah, we use Informatica Power Center for our ETL pipelines. Also, Informatica Cloud as well, which is their newer piece of software. Brownskill says, "How do you choose what projects to build? I need to start working on building projects, but I have no idea what to build. Want to learn React and TypeScript too." Brown, my main advice would be just what do you like? What are your interests? What are things you enjoy? Build a project around that. If you like baseball, build a app that helps you track baseball scores throughout the season. If you like basketball, build an app that helps track the Final Four results or whatever. I don't know sports. Uh, if you like dogs, build an app that helps you keep track of the names of the dogs that you see around your neighborhood. Just it doesn't have to be something world changing or even unique. It just has to be something that you're going to be committed to and passionate enough to want to finish. That's the hardest part, is to actually start something and finish it, right? So you got to give yourself a break and build an app that you're actually going to enjoy. And so, that's the easiest way to get started, is just jump in. And if you're passionate enough about it, then that's going to take you through those times when you get stuck and you feel discouraged, but you're still going to want to finish it. And so you're going to learn how to troubleshoot. You're going to learn how to Google what you don't know. That's going to give you the motivation to actually finish. Thank you, KP. That's very nice. Clarence says PHP Laravel is popular here in the Philippines. Yeah, it's popular everywhere. I would say it's maybe not the most glamorous, language, right? It's not the most glamorous framework, but it's extremely popular. PHP powers a lot of the sites that we use every day. Um, it's kind of a toss up between that and in JavaScript frameworks like React and that type of thing. But yeah, PHP is still very much going strong. Like I say, this position that I'm looking at, it uses Laravel PHP for all of the stuff that I would be building potentially, and so I got to learn it. So yeah, I think it's been worthwhile, and honestly, I like it so far. I wasn't sure if I would like it going into it, just coming from a JavaScript background, JavaScript and React. But actually, I quite like it so far. It has very intuitive and very built-in ways of handling common things that you need to do for full stack applications. Things like preventing cross-site scripting, or things like handling routes are super easy. It just kind of has that stuff built in, or you can pull it in with a simple variable and it just handles it for you, which is really neat. Noman says, "Why do so many American companies use outdated technologies?" Um, I would say that's due to a variety of factors, and to be clear, I don't think that's a bad thing. Um, I think there's something to be said for using a technology that has robust support, has a lot of people who know how to use it, and is very stable. If you're always jumping at the newest framework or the newest technology, then you're going to run into a lack of support. You're going to run into you're gonna be essentially the guinea pig to who finds all the bugs. Um, and you're just not going to have the resources out there to help you fix something when it goes wrong. It's kind of a buyer beware type of situation. I've been in that situation actually at my current employer where we were the first ones to use a new product. And so we were the ones that were, reporting everything to the developers and being like, hey, this broke. And they're like, oh gosh, we don't know what's going on. We got to fix it because we were the guinea pigs. And it's not a fun position to be in because something's always broken and nobody knows why. Versus using a well-established tool, then there's probably a wiki out there or Stack Overflow or something that's going to tell you exactly what's going on. But another reason why American companies use outdated technologies is because a lot of American companies have been around for a long time and were kind of the forerunners in those technologies. So, newer companies have the advantage of starting with newer technologies, right? Where companies that have been around a long time, it's hard to upgrade once you're established in a particular technology. So you're going to keep using it until you can't use it anymore. And so that's part of it too. Arvind says, do you do streams related to AI, like trying new AI tools or building an AI app? No, I don't really have a focus on AI. Like I said, I don't dislike AI. I do like it, but my streams are very focused on learning to code and teaching the fundamentals of coding. And if you are reliant on AI from the very beginning, you're not going to learn those fundamentals. You're going to be missing out on important skills like the ability to troubleshoot, the ability to think independently, to remember and retain important concepts. So we don't often use AI here on these streams. And again, it's not because I don't like it. I do. I use it a lot. But these streams are more about teaching you how to learn to code versus teaching you how to rely on AI applications. Brown says, I was thinking about building a dev journal where developers could write their wins and maybe go back and use it for future interviews. Absolutely, do that. Yeah, if that's something you're passionate about, do it. 100%. You could do it in like a kind of a blog format. No, man, no worries. Yeah, glad that was helpful for you. Joey says, to add to the, thank you so much for the follow, Sterling Quest. Good to have you here, Sterling. Joey says, to add to the outdated technology question, it costs companies a lot of money to do upgrades. Yes, costs at the enterprise level are insane. Cost companies a lot of money to do upgrades. You have to test everything thoroughly. There may be many dependencies that have to upgrade with it, and it can be a tremendous effort in hours. If you are spending your time upgrading, then you're not working on new features or products. The list is long. 100%. Yeah, everything you said there, Joey's, are things that I have encountered at my job. Whenever we do have to upgrade to something new, like right now, I am on a project on my team where we are using a newer version of our current tool. So we're using like a cloud version of our current ETL tool. And we spent like a solid month trying to figure out why our pipelines were essentially failing every single night. So every single night at I forget when, 3 a.m., our pipelines would fail and one of us would have to get up and manually restart them and fix it. And it was terrible. It was awful. And we were on calls every single day with the support for this tool being like, what is going on? Giving them log files, giving them data dumps, that type of thing. And it still took them like a month to solve the problem. Eventually they figured it out, but yeah, it was just one of those things. It was a huge headache, and I'm still on that project trying to, learn the tool, get things converted over. And it's been months and months just working through this upgrade. Yeah. So, and that's why, a lot of American banks still run on COBOL, the programming language COBOL, which is from the 1950s. That's why it's much safer to just stick with what works than it is to upgrade and risk inserting those, variables of uncertainty into your stack, right? Why would you do that when you could stick with what already works and not disrupt business operations? That's why the American nuclear program was still using the big floppy disks, the ones that were actually floppy, like this big. We're still using, the nuclear silos. We're still using floppy disks. I don't know if they still are, but that was a thing that came out a few years ago. And, American warships still use floppy disks just because it works and it's safe. And why change it if you don't need to? Jeckard says, what type of pipelines? What do they do generally? An ETL pipeline just means it's a way of transporting data from point A to point B. So if I have data in a source system, let's say like a digital cash register, right? You've got people checking out at a cash register, and each time they check out, it records a transaction, right? Let's say that. Okay, well, you have all this data in this cash register or this point of sale system, but I want my data I want to be able to analyze transactions alongside customer demographics. So I want to see, maybe, people's shopping habits and how they relate to what they actually buy, that type of thing. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to have that cash register data in a larger system where I can join it with other tables that contain that demographic information. And so in order to get it from point A to point B, I need a data pipeline that pulls the data from the source, does some formatting in the middle to make it readable by a human, or changes formatting, does additional calculations, that type of thing, and then puts that data in point B. That's what we would call a data pipeline. And so that's what I do, is building those types of data pipelines, connecting source systems to target systems to data warehouses. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. William Pittman says, trains still use floppies. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Yep. I'm not surprised at all. I know that many subway systems still use, really, really rudimentary ancient systems like that. Subways do, just because those are the types of things that they just can't, you can't turn them off and do a big upgrade and just expect everything to be fine. It's not going to work. So one thing I always tell new developers is if they're panicking about like, oh, I need to learn the newest framework, I have, from what I have seen in my career thus far, and from what I know about just how things work, is that very few, a very tiny percentage of companies actually use new technology. Most of them are using stuff that's, 10, 20, 30 years old, and that's just what they do. So you don't have to worry about it. You're going to be fine. And I've built my career on using SQL, which is a language that's been around since 1977 and still powers most of the databases around the world, right? So I'm not worried about it. I don't think SQL's going away anytime soon. There's nothing better than SQL out there. So I'm perfectly content knowing a language that's 50 years old. All right, folks. Today, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be working with Laravel PHP to kind of work on building a portfolio project. And in order to help us do that, um, I'm going to be using laracast.com, which is a really helpful website where they have a lot of free videos on just learning Laravel, learning PHP, learning JavaScript with PHP, all these sorts of intersections between PHP and other languages, different frameworks for PHP. It's a pretty great website. We're following the course 30 Days to Learn Laravel. We started this course last week. We made it through a few lessons. But if you'll notice here on the left, this is the kind of the course, course progression. This is kind of the course progression. You'll notice that I'm pretty far along. I think maybe last week, maybe we got to like here. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, you've noticed I've done a little bit since then. And that's mostly because I was told on Friday that I would be called in for an interview on Monday. So, which is tomorrow. If you're watching this later on, my interview is tomorrow. And it's not, it's not a full-fledged interview. It's just a 30-minute kind of screener interview. So I don't expect it to be super strenuous or anything like that. But if I do pass that screener interview and then go on to a next round, I want to, like I said, I want to be really able to speak intelligently about Laravel, and to maybe even have something I can demonstrate to say like, hey, look, I can work with Laravel. Here's something I built with Laravel and Blade, and really show that I can do this work that they need done. So I've been working ahead, and I plan to keep working ahead. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to kind of skip to the end. And that's only because this is the final project portion of the course. So even though I haven't finished the course yet, we're going to start the final project. I don't know if we'll get through it. Oh my goodness, RDT, thank you so much for the sub. Wow. Hang on one second. Let me get the thingy up here. Thank you so much, RDT. Always good to have you here. Thank you. And thank you, Sterling. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. But yes, thank you, RDT. And so, yeah, essentially we're going to skip to the final project. We're going to do, we'll see how far we get. Like I say, we probably won't get through the whole thing, but that's okay. We'll get as far as we get. And then, I'm gonna keep going. After the stream, I have a hard cutoff. I have to go to yoga at 5 p.m. But then I'll come back from yoga and I'll just kind of keep blowing through this and try to get as much done as I can before tomorrow. So gonna be kind of a work in progress, but hopefully should pay off. And like I say, I do like Laravel. I'm glad I'm learning it. I think it's a really useful framework. I can see some advantages that it has over like React and just plain JavaScript, certainly. So yeah, it does seem very useful so far. Red Sly says, so learn SQL over React then? No, I wouldn't say that, Red Sly. It depends on what you want to do, right? Like, I have always been really interested in data and analytics, and SQL goes really well with data and analytics. That's why I like Python too. But if you like designing complicated front ends, if you like making beautiful UIs and you're more front end focused, then I would say learn React. Yep. I always try to avoid like comparisons of, frameworks and things. Saying like, by that I mean like saying that a framework is good or bad, or saying that, oh, this sucks, you should learn this. Because everything has its use case, right? Everything has its purpose, and it's hardly ever a bad idea to learn something new. Yeah. Okay, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to be coding kind of live here along with the video. But before we do get started, I'm curious. And Jackard says there's a new JavaScript framework every other week. Yeah, exactly. That's part of it, right? If you keep trying to learn the newest framework or whatever somebody on Twitter says is the best thing, then you're never going to learn anything because you're just going to be jumping around all the time. So just pick something, learn it, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, and Shakespeare says if you have a front end and a database, you should learn both React and SQL. Yeah, I agree. We've done stuff with both here on stream. We've done React and SQL. Yeah, absolutely. Before we get started, though, I am curious. I do have a genuine question, something I don't know the answer to from chat. What is the best extension, VS Code extension, for getting Emmet to play nice with Laravel Blade? Does anybody know the answer to that? Because there's tons of extensions out there for like Laravel, PHP, Laravel Blade, but none of them make Emmet actually work with Laravel Blade. And I'm out here typing out friggin' HTML tags by hand because I can make Emmet work with PHP with Blade, but then it doesn't respect the PHP parts of Blade. So it's like I want something that just recognizes all the Blade symbols and like helps me with IntelliSense and actually autocomplete stuff for me. So does anybody have a good extension that I can install right now? Oh, thank you so much, Jeckard, for the follow. Anybody know the answer to that? Because as I've been going through these lessons, I've been just installing like every extension I can find, and none of them seem to actually make Emmet work properly with Blade. But let me know if you guys think of anything. Otherwise, I'm just gonna see what I have here. Because I was working on my laptop, so I installed a bunch of stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and install a couple things here. We'll just see if it does anything. So like there's a Laravel Blade extension, I think this is the one that oh, here we go. Better, yeah. Laravel Extra IntelliSense, I think I had this one installed. Then I had one for Blade. And then I'll do one for syntax highlighting as well. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any suggestions on that. Otherwise, we'll try these. We'll see what happens. But I haven't had much luck with Emmet actually cooperating with Blade, so we'll see. I really hate typing out HTML tags by hand. I don't know about you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. As I start the video, let me know how the audio balance sounds. So ideally, his voice on the video should be similar to the volume of my voice when I talk. But let me know how it sounds, okay? Go ahead and get started.
All right, everybody. The moment is now. The time has come. We have to start working on our final project. Oh, and by the way, you can tell it's the final project because I have a brand new spiffy wallpaper to mark the occasion. Okay, so before we get started, a couple ground rules. First up, there's no way around this. We're going to go much faster than we did in previous videos. But hopefully, if I did my job properly, it's not going to feel that fast because you've already reviewed each of these concepts. But yeah, we can't get around it. If I stopped after each line to explain it, we'd be here for 4 or 5 hours, and we got to get this done. Okay, ground rule number 2. With that in mind, here's your job. If you're watching a video and you didn't understand a particular piece or why I did this or that, your job, and for the benefit of everyone else, your job is to leave a comment, mark the timestamp, and then ask your question. So it might be like, hey, Jeffrey, at 3 minutes and 52 seconds, I didn't understand why you put this return type there. Can you explain more? And I'm going to monitor these comments for a long time, and I will do my best to answer each of your questions. Okay? So if you're watching a video and you don't know what's going on, well, maybe head down to the comments and somebody has already asked your question. All right, that's it. Let's get going. Now, we will start like we always do. Laravel, new, and the name of our fictional jobs platform is called Pixel Positions, so that will be the name.
Okay, just pausing briefly here. I did tweak the volume down a little bit. Hopefully that's more even now. Thanks for letting me know. And yeah, if you didn't join us last week, what we're using is essentially a sort of a Laravel helper here called Herd. And it's very similar to Vite. If you've ever used Vite before for like a React project, Herd is very, very similar. Essentially, it scaffolds the entire project for you. It creates the views, it creates your folder structure, it creates, everything that you need in order to immediately spin up your project and start running it. And what he's demonstrating here is essentially the setup. So the setup menu, it's going to give you a variety of options to choose from. But yeah, we're using Herd to sort of scaffold this. And so the command to do that is just Laravel new. And I'm just going to call mine Pixel Positions too. I'm going to be modifying this. The most important thing here is that whenever you're following a tutorial is that you follow the tutorial, that's fine. But what you should do immediately afterwards is make it your own. So turn it into something that is unique to you, which is what I'm going to do with this. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but for now, this is going to be like a job board is what he's building, but I'm going to turn it into something else. Don't know what, but something. So Laravel new Pixel Positions just basically spins up a new app. And you'll notice I'm in the Herd folder here. And that's important, right? Because that's where Herd is going to be looking for this project. So it's going to give you a choice of starter kits here. So we'll see which one he chooses.
All right. No starter kit in this case, even though Breeze would give us a head start. It removes some of the learning opportunities. So we will start from scratch. I will use pest. Yes, I will initialize Git. I'm going to use SQLite. And let's CD in there.
Okay, mine's a little bit slower than his is, so we're going to wait for mine to catch up. And you'll notice it didn't give me the same options that it gave him. I'm on Windows, he's on Mac. He's also using Laravel 11, while I'm using, I think, Laravel 12. So there's some differences here where, it's not going to be quite the same path, but it's close enough, right? So it's working on generating autoload files here. The next question it's going to ask is what type of database we want to use. And it's going to give us some choices. And I'll talk about those choices here in a second. As soon as it's done with the autoload files. This always takes a really long time, and I don't know why. But as always, let me know if you guys have any questions, especially if you weren't here last week. This is going to be some new stuff. Still going. Jeez. Anybody read any good books lately? Hey, Frenetic. Welcome. Good to have you here. I'm just waiting on Laravel to finish generating my auto load files so I can keep going here. It is warm in here today. I always forget how much in the summer my graphics card like heats up the room. Not that I have a particularly crazy graphics card or anything, but it definitely makes a difference. Frenetic says, the interview tomorrow for the Laravel job. It is, yes. And it's more of a first round interview, 30 minutes sort of screener with the hiring manager and a developer currently on the team. So like a full stack developer currently on the team. So I want to kind of be able to speak intelligently about Laravel, at least to some degree. And yeah, so now here in the setup process, it's giving some choices on which database we want to use. And none of these are bad. Personally, I have previously used Postgres, SQL Server, and MySQL. One of the things that I have not previously used, or at least until this point, was thanks virtually. One of them that I haven't used previously up to this point was SQLite. Now, SQLite is a little bit different than some of these other options here, given that it's the type of DB that is primarily file-based, where the other ones are more traditional, like relational databases with tables and everything. Sorry, I think I said the word. Darn it. Sorry, virtually. Gosh. Virtually redeemed a word ban. So yeah, I'm trying to be careful about that, but I'm pretty bad at those. But yeah, SQLite is file-based, is a file-based type of DB. And that's what he's been using these examples. So we're going to use that today. It's good to get some good to get some practice with different types. And I keep adding more flavors of SQL to my repertoire. So I like that. So we're going to use SQLite today. And then the next thing it says, would you like to run npm install and npm run build? And we're going to say yes. And what that's going to do is it's just going to install our packages and it's going to fire up our project. And now you might be thinking, wow, this feels a lot like Vite, right? And check it out. It even is running Vite build. So yeah, this whole herd thing is basically just Vite under the hood. It's Vite for Laravel. No worries, virtually. Hey, Toby Ronick, welcome. Good to have you here. Hello from Sweden. We got folks from Pakistan. We got folks from Sweden. We got folks from the UK. It's awesome. I love to see it. It's one of my favorite things about Twitch. But yeah, so essentially, Herd is running Vite under the hood to scaffold this project. So if you know Vite already, then you already know what's happening here. And you can use all the Vite commands that you're familiar with, npm run build and all that stuff. But for the purposes of this project, we're going to go ahead and cd into our new folder, pixel positions. And then from there, it's telling us we want to run composer run dev. There we go. And we are now running. Our application is now running. Oh wait, sorry, I ran the wrong command. I need to run, terminate batch job. I need to actually run PHP artisan serve, sorry. PHP artisan serve. There we go. There it is. So here's our application. It's running in the browser. And we're going to, completely change all of this, right? Oh, Toby Ronick. They say, funny thing, I work with Jeffrey Way. Wow. Jeffrey Way with CodeIgniter 20 years ago. Nice to see he's still going strong. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I found his video series here very, very good, very easy to follow. He's a little hokey sometimes, but that's okay. He's a good teacher. And yeah, glad to know that you worked with him 20 years ago because he's been with Laravel since the very beginning. So pretty cool. All right, so our app is running. And we'll keep going with the video here.
All right, let's review this in the browser. And we're all set. All right, let's head over to Zeppelin. Now, here's the layout that Adrian whipped up for us. It looks pretty good and should be fairly easy to create the markup for. Now, of course, you don't have access to this, but I think the only thing we need here is the logo itself. So I will make that available within the GitHub repository. And I will also link to it within the comments for this video. All right, I will call it logo and I will save an SVG. Now you'll see I'm already within my project. So I have a couple of choices. I could create an images directory within my public folder, or if I want Vite to automatically version and hash any images we have, and that would help with cache busting, by the way. In that case, I could put it within a resources directory. So let's do that. Let's open this, create a new folder called images, and then I will save it here.
Okay, so pausing briefly there. I'm going to grab this logo, which is right here in the comments. So we'll see what that looks like. Oh, I didn't mean to click away from the thing, but okay, whatever. We'll go ahead and download it. Okay. Downloaded it, go back. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop it into the area, the place that he specified. So I believe I need to go back and see exactly where that was. I believe it was resources. So I'm going to go into my app here, resources, and the new folder there called images. So we'll create a new folder. Like so, and then I'm going to grab the logo from my downloads and drop it in. Maybe, come on. Thanks, virtually. Good to have you here. So yeah, we've got our logo there. It looks good. Perfect. And obviously I'm going to replace this with another image when I actually build out my real thing, but this is good enough for now. I'm just going to make sure I put that in the right place.
Version and hash any images we have, and that would help with cache busting, by the way. In that case, I could put it within a resources directory. So let's do that. Let's open this, create a new folder called images, and then I will save it here. Cool. So let's switch over to our editor. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is set up my general layout. So within the views directory, I will add a directory called components, and this one will be called layout or app layout, whatever you want.
Okay, so real quick explanation of what he's doing here. Does anybody know in chat? Feel free to answer if you know. What is he doing when he creates this components folder? What do we when we say components in terms of like a framework? What do components help us do? What are they for? What do components do within a framework? And I'll give you a hint. If you're familiar with React, you know what components are and what they do. Because they do the exact same thing in React as they do in Laravel. Frenetic says they're reusable bits of code. Yeah, absolutely. What's an example of a time when we might want to have a reusable bit of code? If I'm designing, let's say I'm designing a 3-page website. What part of that design might I put into a component so that I can reuse it over and over again? What's something that I could put into a component? A header, yeah. Anything else? Oh, and thank you for the follow, by the way, Roland. Yeah, and Roland coming in with a great answer. Buttons, absolutely. Welcome to the stream, Roland. Yeah, buttons, specific types of effects, some styling elements that you want to repeat over and over again. I think another really common one that we might want to put into a component is like a nav bar, right? Because if you have a multi-page website, you're probably going to have a nav bar of some kind. And so you would want that to be a component so that as you add more pages or change their name or whatever, you can change that nav bar component and just have it be reflected across every single page in your website. Hey, Sepster, good to have you here. Yeah, so I'm going to head into my views folder here, and I'm going to create a new folder called components, like so. And then in there, I can create a new file, and we're just going to call it layout.blade.php. Now, what Blade is it's kind of like a helper that sits on top of basic PHP, and it gives you access to some shorthand when you're working with PHP. So sorry, well, the sun is really bright outside my window. Let me see if I can pull the curtains over a little bit. The sun is just like blaring in the window. But yeah, so Blade essentially kind of sits on top of PHP and makes it a little easier to work with. You can almost maybe think about it like the way Express makes Node easier to work with, right? You can build stuff in plain old Node, Like you can build a full stack app with Node, but it's going to be a lot harder than making use of like the built-in methods and stuff that you get, the shorthand that you get with Express. And Blade is kind of similar, right? You can definitely build things in raw PHP, but Blade is going to sit on top of it. It's going to give you access to specific variables that essentially kind of give you shortcuts to specific PHP commands and that type of thing. So Blade, that's why we're using Blade here.
Let's do layout. All right, let's add some initial boilerplate. We'll call it pixel positions.
Yeah, so I'm going to add some HTML5. And I hate this because Emmet does not work. Emmet does not work well with Blade. So I'm going to pull this over so I can actually see it. So real quick, I am going to rename this so I can use Emmet with Blade. Actually, wait, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to go into my preferences, and then I'm going to go into settings, and I'm going to pull this over so y'all can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to type Emmet. And within VS Code, you can add specific languages that you want Emmet to understand. And so this is not the best solution to this problem, but I'm just going to say, I think I did this once before. Maybe see if if I say blade is it blade.php that makes it work? I don't remember. And if I say that's like HTML, that will make Emmet actually work with this properly. It's not perfect, but let me see. Come on. Okay, nope, that's not it. Is it just Blade? I got it to work before. There we go. So now Emmet will recognize Blade as HTML, which is, again, not perfect because Blade is not HTML, but it'll at least let me use common HTML commands. But yeah, if anybody out there knows of a good plugin that will make Emmet actually, or have good IntelliSense for Blade, please let me know because I'm dying here. But that's all right. I'll hand type it if I have to. So I'm going to change the title here to be pixel positions. Save it. All right, we'll move over here. Oop. Gotta get my windows back aligned again. Nope, not like that. There we go. Okay. And we'll go ahead and collapse the sidebar. Make it a little easier to see. Okay.
And then let's see, if I switch back to Zeppelin, yeah, it looks like I have a navigation area at the top and then our main section below it. All right, so we'll have our wrapper, a nav section at the top, and then our main section below it. And for now, I will put our...
Okay, so going to have a nav bar. All this is pretty standard, probably stuff you've seen before, right? But we're going to, what he just did there is something that's unique to Laravel. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Have a nav bar. And then have our main section below. And inside that main section is what's called a slot variable. And what he's doing there is, it's kind of very similar to EJS or handlebars. I'm sure many of you have probably used handlebars or EJS. If you want some dynamic templating for your applications, but you don't need something as robust as React, so you kind of just use a intermediate solution like a template engine like handlebars or EJS. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We can type something that looks like HTML, but it's actually not. And what that allows us to do is to have HTML tags, but then also insert code logic within them. And so what this slot variable does is it essentially allows you to use this as a dynamic layout and then reference it and slot whatever content you want into this location. So this essentially leaves a gap where you can slot anything. You can slot your page content or whatever page you're on. It's just going to fall right in here. And the outlying HTML is going to be the same for every page. So that's why we can have our nav bar here or whatever, and it's going to be the same for every page, but the content will be different. So that's a slot variable.
Slot there. Okay, so now within the nav, it looks like we have three sections, right? An area for the logo, an area for the links, and then a section to post a job. So let's create 3 divs. First up, we'll have our logo. then our links, and then finally post a job. Okay, so first up, if I want to...
Okay, pausing there for a second to set up our nav bar. So 3 divs, 1, 2, 3, and we'll have our logo, links, and post a job. And I should probably be careful about formatting. There we go.
Reference this logo.svg file within my resources folder rather than public, we have to load it and access it a bit differently. Here's how. Open up our image tag, but first, this should be clickable, right? So let's add it within an anchor tag. And then as the source, I will open up PHP, and I'm going to reference the Vite facade. Now, this is the full path, but actually it's made available globally as an alias. So I can just do this. And I'm going to reference an asset.
Okay, so a couple different things that he did there. So first, let me get the scaffolding built here. So inside the logo div, expand that out, and we're going to make an anchor tag like so. And then inside there, we're going to go ahead and put an image tag. And again, pulling in some outside logic, some dynamic logic here, and also referencing a specific class that's built in. So this is Vite, right? We're referencing something that's built into Vite. And when I do this colon here and then say asset, does anybody know what we're doing here? Just by, you don't even have to know PHP. If this is a class, what do we think this is? If this is a class, what do we think this is? Yeah, it's a method, right? So I can, if I have this access to this class, I can access the associated method. And this colon notation is just how PHP does that. It's going to be different in most languages, but the concept is the same to what you might know from a bunch of other different languages, right? Lots of languages have classes and methods. Yeah, so we can access the asset class here, and we can set a custom path to get to our image.
Okay, so now all I have to do is reference the full path to the image. In this case, resources, images, logo.svg.
Okay, so yeah, we just reference that path. Resources. And again, since I'm using Emmet as if this was HTML, like none of my autocompletes work here, which sucks. So I have to hand type everything that's related to PHP. All right, so resources, images, logo.svg. Okay, looks good.
And that's it. Okay, so with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and run npm run dev. npm run dev.
Okay, we're going to run npm run dev here, and this is for a particular reason. So I'm going to stop the existing server run. We'll say npm run dev. Okay. Oh, is that not? Let's see. Well, let's see what he does.
But right now we're getting Vite command not found because I haven't yet installed my npm dependencies. Let's do that now.
I did
run
npm
one
install.
more time. There we go. It's up and running.
Okay, so for me, it doesn't show the same thing. It's okay if it doesn't. It's okay if we can't get this to work because he's just demonstrating something kind of incremental here. So let's
do that now. All right, one more time. There we go. It's up.
Okay, well, let's try it. I'll just go to it manually here. HTTP pixel positions dot test. Yeah, okay. I didn't think that would work. That's okay. So essentially what he's doing here is he's just going to demonstrate how you can retrieve the image in the dev environment, but if we tried to do a production build, this would not work.
Up and running. Next, I'm going to, at the very top, reference our resources.js app.js file. And now, well, let's access this in the browser.
Okay. So what he's doing here now is adding an additional sort of expression. And this is an example of one of those shortcuts that I mentioned that Blade allows you to do. This is PHP under the hood. You could do this manually with PHP if you wanted, but it's just a little shortcut for us. So We'll say resources. We're just telling Vite where to find what we need. JS app.js.
So here's what I'll do. I'll go to my routes file and let's open welcome and delete all of this and replace it with our new layout.
Okay, so now what we're doing is we're moving on to actually be able to utilize this layout that we've started building. So now that we have this layout, hey, web developer, it says, is this WordPress PHP? This is specifically Laravel. This is Laravel running in a basically a herd project. So it's fully scaffolded, and it's Laravel PHP. I don't know if that's what WordPress uses. I'm not a WordPress dev, but maybe WordPress uses Laravel. Don't know. But yeah, so now we can go to actually make use of this layout. I'm going to get rid of the basic welcome page. So we'll just go ahead and clear everything out of it. We don't need it. Collapse down this. And now, instead of having to do another like HTML5 template like this, we don't have to. I can use the layout tag that I've already created. So my layout was called layout. So I can use a custom X tag to just say X layout and do the closing tag. And what this is going to do is this looks very similar to something that you might do in React, right? If I had a custom React component that I had built, how I would reference that component and make use of it would be just like this, right? I would have a custom tag with the name of that component. And if that component accepted like contents, right, I could put them inside of the tag. And so I could say something like hello from the home page. And what that's going to do is it's going to take these contents, pass them into my layout, look for the location of that slot, and take those contents and put them right here. So if we go back out of this, yeah. So save that. Oh, I stopped the server, so we'll start it back up in a second. Just stop this. Okay. But yeah, we'll catch up here.
All right, let's switch to the browser. Give it a
okay. So I'm going to run PHP artisan serve. There we go. That's going to run the server at localhost. Oop. Unable to locate file in Vite manifest. Okay, let's see what's up with that. We'll see if he covers that. But
refresh. So sure enough.
Okay, so I must have missed something. All right, we got this. Resources, images, logo. Resources, images, logo.svg. It's there. Hey, code drift. Okay. Oh, I know what I did. Haha. Okay. So this is great. I love this. All right. I know what mistake I made. No, of course, code drift. Absolutely. Do whatever you got to do. It's going to be recorded too, so you never have to watch it live. You can always come back and watch the recording. So the reason why that failed, and let's look at that error again. It says unable to locate file in Vite manifest. And you might be like, but we pulled in all this stuff, right? But well, that's because I also need to do an import here for Vite. So let's see if he did that. I'm going to go back a little bit. Because I think I might need to do the full... and actually, too, real quick, I'm going to take off Emmet here so I can actually get proper support. Okay. Layout. Let's do this part again. See if it recognizes it. Okay, I might need another extension. Sorry, guys. What I'm trying to get is the full path to this. Laravel. You gonna do it? Okay. So yeah, there it recognizes it now. It changed color, so it recognizes this as a class. That's good. Okay, now let's do that part again.
Alias. So I can just do this. And I'm going to reference an asset that's made available globally as an alias. So I can just do this. And I'm going to reference an asset. Okay, so now all I have to do is reference the full path to the image. In this case, resources, images, logo.svg.
Okay, let's try it again. Asset. He says it's made available globally, but resources, images, logo.svg. Okay. That looks good. Save that. And then I've already got my Vite statement up here.
And that's it. Okay. So with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and run npm run dev. npm run dev. But right now we're getting Vite command not found because I haven't yet installed my npm dependencies. Let's do that now. All right, one more time.
I could always run npm install again too, and it's not going to hurt anything. Okay.
Time. There we go. It's up and running.
All right, now let's try npm run dev. Okay, I tried running, let's see. Nope, okay. So I guess I have to do it with artisan serve. Nope, I already installed Laravel, so that's what I tried before, but it didn't work. So we'll see if it works again.
Running.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going to, at the very top, reference our resources.js app.js file. And now, well, let's access this in the browser. So here's what I'll do. I'll go to my routes file and let's open welcome.
Okay. So we'll go do it exactly the way that he did it. Routes. Oh, already cleared out the contents of it. Okay.
And delete all of this and replace it with our new layout. All right, let's switch to the browser. Give it a refresh.
Okay, we'll try refreshing. Oh, and I don't have the server running again, sorry. PHP artisan serve. There we go. Okay, it still doesn't like my image. Not sure what's going on here. Fun. Gotta love live troubleshooting, right? If we can't get the image to work, I might just skip it for now. It's not vital, and we're doing it and putting it in kind of a weird place. So I might skip it and just try it later. This is very small in our list of things that we're actually trying to do here. So I think what I might do is just comment this out for now, and then see if it works without it. So I'll just do this and just comment it out. Oh, I need the whole tag. But if anybody knows the answer, feel free to shout it out, what I did wrong here. But I think I did everything right. But we'll save that, and then now we'll try it again. Unable to locate file in Vite manifest. Okay, it still hates it. All right, I'm just going to get rid of the file also, because I can always put it back. So we'll delete. Try it again. Okay. Let's stop it and restart it. Okay. Where is it seeing that still? Okay, I'm going to get rid of that whole statement then. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I just got rid of the whole statement. I know that's probably kind of hard to see because I had my bar pulled over pretty far, but you know, hey, it's not working, so we're just going to get rid of it. I'll put it back later. Not going to worry about that for now. Just going to keep cruising. So we've got our homepage up. Good stuff. Let's keep going. Not worth our time right now.
So, sure enough, it doesn't look great because of the white background, but this is our logo. And if we inspect it, sure enough, we can see it being referenced properly. All right, but here's one thing to be aware of. If I switch to the terminal and I instead build this for production, have a look. I come back, reload, and unable to locate file in Vite manifest.
Oh, hey. That's our problem. But we were having that problem in the dev build, which is interesting. So yeah, he's going to tell us how to solve it. Go. Yay.
Okay, here's how we fix that. Go into your resources.js app.js file. And right here, I'm basically going to tell Vite about our images directory. So I can say import.meta.glob. So I'm going to provide a regular expression here. So I'm going to say my images are within the, go up a level, go into the images folder, and then grab everything within there. And I want that made available and ready for versioning.
Okay, so I guess I'll put this back then. Do that. Have faith. Okay, Vite is back. That is back. Now I'm going to go into app.js. I love that more people are joining as I'm troubleshooting. That's great. I love it. It makes me happy. So we're in JS, app.js. We're importing Bootstrap, and we're also going to import .meta.glob. That's a fun word to say. And proper semicolons. One thing that PHP, probably the thing that's been hardest for me to get used to about PHP is how much PHP actually cares about semicolons. JavaScript really doesn't. PHP very much does. So that's my most common mistake, is missing a semicolon. And all right, so we're going to go, essentially what this is saying is go up one level, right? We're in JS. We need to go up one level to images, and then we need to just grab everything in the images folder. So I'll go ahead and put that image back. Okay, images, there we go. Let's see what else we're doing here.
Okay, so if I come back and run this again, this time, if I come back to the browser and refresh, it works.
Hey, no worries, Chad. Good to have you here. We were just doing some troubleshooting. Let's see if it works now. All right, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to run npm run build. Okay, let's see if we refresh. Actually, I'm just going to do a PHP artisan serve because his commands aren't the same as mine. So this one I know worked. So I'm just going to do PHP artisan serve. There we go. All right, the logo's there now. Hooray, look at it. It's beautiful, gorgeous. Love it. And so what I'm doing there by saying PHP artisan serve is essentially just, yay, I know, right? It always feels good when you troubleshoot and something works eventually. That's the best part. But this is good practice, right? It's good practice to, I didn't expect to have to troubleshoot, but that's good practice for being cool in an interview, right? You don't let it get you flustered. You just kind of roll with it and see what happens. And we found a workaround, right? If he hadn't had this part of the video and I couldn't figure it out, all right, just skip it. Go to the next thing. It's all good. But yeah, I'm running PHP artisan serve, which is just, artisan is just allowing us to kind of set up a local server pretty quickly. And so that's what I'm using. And it works fine.
Okay, so that is something to be aware of, only on the condition that you need versioning and cache busting. So take a look at this. If I inspect the element, notice that it appends a unique URL to the logo. And again, this is entirely for the purposes of cache busting, so that your assets can live as long or little as they need to. Okay, just an aside. Let's head back to our layout. For now, it's going to link back to the home page, and then let's work on this. Switch to Zeppelin, and I see links for jobs, careers, salaries, and companies. So first one is jobs. Next, we have careers. Next one is salaries. And last up is companies. And we'll probably change this a little bit later.
Okay, so just kind of building out our nav bar here a little bit more. WebDev says, why are you not offering web development services? You're good with building websites. Well, thank you. Mainly because I already have a full-time job, and my that full-time job is more data engineering, less website building. I have done a few freelance clients. I have built websites for a few freelance clients, which was fun. But freelancing takes a lot of work, right? It takes a fair amount of time, energy, working with clients, that type of thing. And I don't mind it. But oftentimes I just don't want to spend my time that way. So Shad says, any recommended link to check out the artisan server? Yeah, I would just check out the documents, the docs for Laravel. Laravel will tell you about all these different helper tools we're using, like Artisan, or later on we're going to be using Eloquent, Blade, all these different kind of helpers that we're using that kind of sit on top of PHP. Of course, Cat8, good to see you again as well. Yeah, catch up on the VOD later, absolutely. But yeah, check out the Laravel docs for more information on Artisan or Eloquent or Blade or some of these other tools we're going to be using. But yeah, the reason I don't, just offer web dev services is mostly just because I have different ways I like to spend my time. I do it sometimes. I take an occasional client here or there, but it just depends on what you want to do with your time, right? Halil, thank you so much for the follow. All right, so let's fill out our nav bar a little bit more. So inside the nav bar, we've got this here, we've got our anchor tag, and then we're going to go down to this kind of placeholder links. We'll get rid of these. So links are going to go in this div here. And we'll just have 4 anchor tags for now. Oh, I got to turn Emmet back on. Ugh, so annoying. Okay, turn Emmet back on. Again, if anybody knows of a good extension for this, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to be switching Emmet on and off all the time. 3, 4. Okay, and then we'll say jobs. Thank you for the follow, Joy Dev. Good to have you here. Careers, salaries, and companies.
Okay, finally, we need a link to post a job. So we'll have post a job, and we'll leave it at that. All right, back to the...
Okay, last anchor tag here. And he's putting all of these in... Well, I'll ask you, chat. Why do you think he's wrapping all of these in divs? Why are we... I mean, these would work without these div wrappers, right? Why do you think he's wrapping all of these essentially navbar elements inside of divs? What would be the purpose of that? A lot of extra divs here, right? Why do you think we're doing that? Any guesses? Yeah, exactly, Choi. Future layout purposes. So we can implement grid, flexbox, positioning. Yeah, it's going to be for styling purposes. Because we're, spoiler alert, we're going to be pulling in Tailwind here in a bit. And what that's going to let us do is just add some quick out of the box styling for navbar, for spacing, all that sort of thing. And so, for example, if I take these 4 links and let's say I just want to, sort of group the 4 links together and put them in the center of the UI, then I can, if I wrap them in a div, that's going to be a lot easier because I can style the entire div and hit all 4 links at once and put them all in the right position. So exactly right. It's for styling. But also potentially, Shad, it could be for ID purposes, right? If we want to target a specific div with some type of behavior. Although, you could also add an ID attribute to like a specific anchor tag too. But yeah, it could be useful for that too if you want to kind of group them together with a target specific styling to a particular div. You could give that div an ID. Yeah.
The browser, give it a refresh.
Oops. I didn't mean to.
All right, but now, of course, I want to line these up properly. I could use grid or I could use flexbox. So with that in mind, I next want to pull in Tailwind. TailwindCSS.com, docs, framework guide, Laravel, and once again, we will follow the steps. I will copy this.
Okay, hang on. He went really fast there, so we're back up a little bit here. So I'm going to go to Tailwind, and the nice thing about Tailwind, if you've never used Tailwind before, it is another framework, and it's a styling framework. And so it essentially allows you to more quickly and easily implement CSS styling. So rather than you having to build out a style sheet by hand, You can essentially just access some out-of-the-box keywords and even out-of-the-box templates that Tailwind provides that just work and look really nice. So yeah, absolutely, Shad. But yeah, Tailwind is really good for quick and easy styling, although it can make your HTML look kind of cluttered, just kind of how it is. So it just depends. You won't always need Tailwind for every project. Sometimes it's too much. But go to Docs, Framework Guides down here. Oh, come on. There we go. Laravel. And the nice thing is that Laravel is built to work with Tailwind. Like that is the default. So within Laravel, it just works with Tailwind. So let's see, which one did he copy? Just make sure I get the right one here.
Laravel. And once again, we will follow the steps.
Okay. So we already created our project and they are recommending this. So I'm going to copy it. Oh yeah, and you can see here, we've already done this actually. We've already pulled in Vite here into our app. So yeah, we've already done some of this, but we'll grab this, which I think I did. Let me do it again.
I will copy this, run it.
Okay, I'm gonna stop my server here. Yep, and we'll drop this in. Okay, hopefully that worked.
All right, next we will update tailwind.config.
Okay, so next thing is we're gonna update our config file. Oops, I gotta close this. Okay, Vite config. So go into here, oh, not extensions, go here. And we should see config. Here we go. Let's see where he puts it.
And that file should now be available. It is.
Okay, tailwind.config. And that would be in where? Okay, I don't see a tailwind.config. I can search for it. Okay, so that's my package.lock file. Package.json. There's my dependencies. Let's see what the actual docs say here. Okay, I'm looking for vite.config. Look for that. Nope. Fun. Okay. Let's see. I'm doing that already. Resources, CS, app.css. Okay, let's do this one. Resources, CSS, app.css. Okay. Oh, it's already importing. Okay, good. It's already importing Tailwind CSS. And then we also need to scan this source here. Put that in there. Save it. Sources, views. Okay, I'm still missing this step here, but we'll see what he does. Because I don't have this Tailwind config file.
Paste that in. And yeah, we're just providing paths to files that we want Tailwind to.
Okay, so this is already here, actually. So if we see here, and sorry, you can't see that. That's behind my chat window. Okay, so if we look here, these, essentially the source is looking in those locations. So it's looking in Blade, PHP, it's looking in JS, Vue, and we're just adding this additional views folder there as well.
To inspect for utility classes. This way, the compiled CSS file is as small as it can be. So we're not using Vue here. I can remove that entirely. Cool. Reformat, and that looks good. Next, update our entry points and then run npm run dev.
Okay, so we'll just see what happens here. I'm not sure if I did everything, but hey, we're just kind of actually I should run PHP artisan serve, but yeah, that's still not going to work. So things change, right? Hey, CUF55, say, what are you building? We are building a full stack CRUD application with Laravel. And we're kind of following along with this tutorial here, which is for an older version of Laravel than the one we're using. So, stuff's a little learning lots of PHP. Yep. And, occasionally doing some live troubleshooting. So I'm just going to run PHP artisan serve again. And do that. Okay. Yeah. So it works still. Good stuff.
Cool. So resources, app.css, paste that in. And then finally, if I go to my layout file, we can reference that as well.
Okay, go back to the layout file.
Or like you learned, we could alternatively import our CSS directly from our app.js file. But for now, we'll keep them.
Okay, so gonna reference both of these. And Toby says, when do we get an office tour of this storage bin desk? I've posted it. I've posted my janky desk on Twitter before. If you scroll back down through my Twitter, you'll see a picture of it. For those wondering, I have my desk is a standing desk. I'm standing up right now, but it is basically a old IKEA table. Oh, that's where you found it? Yeah. So yeah, it's an old IKEA table with like the cheapest possible IKEA table with my mouse is on top of a stack of 3 books and my keyboard is on top of a box of old tax documents. And my main monitor is sitting on top of the table. My secondary monitor, where I see all my Twitch stuff, is on top of my tower, which is on top of another desk, which is next to the one that I'm standing at, which is attached to the wall, and my camera is on top of my tower. So it's janky as hell, but it works. Actually, though, funnily enough, at the end of last week, I just got a potential sponsorship for a standing desk. So they're going to send me a standing desk. They're going to send me a standing desk, and I'm going to review it, and like a real one, not whatever I got going on here. And I'm going to review it. I'll post it on Twitter, and I get to keep the desk. So that's probably going to replace this existing setup that I have, my $0 setup. Yeah. Okay, resources, CSS, app.css, save that. RDT says funny and congrats. Thanks. Yeah, this will be my second sponsorship, which is nice. My first sponsorship was from a lighting company, and so I like, I've been approached a few times about sponsorships, but my thing is it has to be something that's actually useful, and it has to be something that's like good for people and potentially promotes ergonomics or good health when you're working at your computer, that type of thing. And so, yeah, lighting company, that was a good sponsorship because they had a nice ergonomic light. And this is good too. Standing desks are good for you as long as you're changing position. That's going to be healthier for you than sitting down all the time, right? So, but yeah, my existing setup, as Toby says, is pure Linus Torvalds style. Exactly. And that's the thing. You don't have to spend a lot of money on ergonomics. You can make your own ergonomics for the most part. Just rearrange your existing space to be better for your body. So do that. Okay. Resources, CSS, app.css, JS, app.js. Okay.
Separate. Cool. npm run dev, and now Tailwind is available to us. Okay, so on the nav, I'm going to set a display of flex, and then I will say justify between. And that.
Okay, so this is going to tell us whether or not our Tailwind is actually working. So with Tailwind, I can use these custom classes without having to, no, it's okay, Toby. Without having to sort of have a separate style sheet, I can just kind of start setting up classes here and they're just going to work if Tailwind is working. And I'm still not entirely convinced about that. So we'll see. Justify between.
That should push this one all the way to the right, this one to the left, and this in the middle. Let's switch back to our project, give it a refresh.
Okay, so let's try this. Okay, yeah, actually, I think it's working. And it looks kind of janky because I'm zoomed in, but if I zoom out, check it out. Yeah, so Tailwind is working, and we can tell that because it applied the classes and it also applied this sort of sans serif font, right? It's not the basic HTML font. It's actually this custom, sans serif font that you'll see with Tailwind. So yay, Tailwind's working. I was really worried about that actually. All right.
And there we go. Cool. Next, why don't we align the items to the center? Items center. All right, cool. But next, everything is right up against the edge of the window. So right up here, why don't we set some padding on the left and right of 10? And why don't we switch to a...
And again, this is more sort of Tailwind shorthand that he's using here. So it can be really helpful, but if you haven't used Tailwind before, it can be hard to remember. The good thing is that Tailwind has excellent documentation. So if you're trying to figure out how to do something in Tailwind, you can find it in the docs, or alternatively, this is what I do more often, is you can go, Tailwind has a huge library of app components. So things like nav bars, things like menus, forms, everything, anything you could possibly need to build a modern web application. You can go to Tailwind and you can just click copy and it will copy all the formatting, all the styles, everything that you need, paste it into your application where you want it, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. So that's what I usually do rather than trying to build my own Tailwind classes. I just find something I like the look of and then copy it from Tailwind. That's why a lot of modern websites look the same because they're all using Bootstrap and Tailwind. So yeah, they're all built on the same frameworks.
A 2-up layout. And yeah, that'll save us some time. All right, next on the nav itself, yeah, if I said a background of red or something, let's give it a little padding on the top and bottom.
All right, so we're using Flexbox here, so justify between item center, and he's set the background to red just to make it easier to see. We can do the same. BG red 500, and then PY is for padding on the Y axis, so up and down. Now let's see how that looks. Let's see. I don't see that my my red didn't get applied. Come on, man. All right. Nav class, flex, justify between, item center, BG red, PY4. That class looks fine. Okay, well, the background isn't super important. Don't know why it's not working, but yeah, whatever.
A bit of breathing room. And next, on the body itself, I want it to be a black color. So I could set class of BG black, like so. And yeah, now we can at least see the logo a bit better. We'll also set the text to white. But if I switch over to Zeppelin, I believe it's not an exact black. Let's select this, and it looks like this is our black color. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to open up tailwind.config.js and extend our colors, and I'll say black should actually be this shade right here.
Okay, I don't have that Tailwind config file, and I'm not sure why, so that's a problem. Let's poke around a little bit. Let's search for it. Pull this over a little bit. Not going to be in package lock. Okay, so I've got my Vite config here. Okay, there we go. That's okay. That's Tailwind CSS. Okay, I can put configs in here. All right, so it's just a little bit different. So I've got Vite config. We're importing Tailwind from Tailwind CSS/Vite. Define config. All right, Laravel there, and then Tailwind here. So I wonder. Okay, this is okay. So we've got that import here. All right, great. And I need to also add this. And okay, that's already there. And we did that. And also I need to make sure, one more thing here in layout, I need to make sure that my Vite resources CSS app.css Yeah, okay. That's also in my head. Cool. I was just checking to make sure it's in the right place. Okay, I wonder how I add additional configs because that's not the same structure. So define config, plugins, Tailwind CSS. I'm guessing I just put it in here. Dylan says, I believe Tailwind 4 dropped the tailwind.config in favor of using CSS variables. Okay, interesting. Good to know. Thank you for that. So I'm wondering if I want to use a custom theme in, so like what he's doing, he's redefining the color black to be a different color. So if I wanted to do that, I wonder where I would put that. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I can just use black. It's not going to matter. I'm just curious how I would, and I could Google this too, but I'm just curious how then I would set up a custom Tailwind theme. If you have a link to documentation or something, Dylan, for that, that would be helpful, I think. Or I could just look in here really quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. It seems trivial. Okay, installation. The docs. Let's do vite config. Nope. What is it? Theme? Theme variables. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks, Dylan. Coming in clutch. Okay, custom, use @theme to add custom colors to your project under the color theme namespace. Okay, and then where do I put these? So do they go in my vite config file? App.css. Okay, thank you. App.css. Learning new things all the time. I dig it. Oh, yeah, of course. It goes here. Yeah, this is where the theme thing is. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So we're in app.css, and I'm going to go back down to where that was. Okay, cool. So I can see here it's setting font sans. That's a custom variable there. So I'm assuming I can just add a new one here, right? So what did he call it? Would just be black would be equal to 86. What is he? I can't even see that. It's too small. Black is equal to 060606. Okay. So black is equal to 060606. Yes? Is that correct? It's red. I don't know if that's good or not. I'm going to assume that's correct. We'll see. We'll find out in a hot minute. Yeah. Semicolon. I don't know if I need that or not.
Here. Now.
Oh, color black? Thanks, Roland. Oh, yeah, there we go. That formatted it properly. Okay. And then I don't know why that's red, but we'll go with it.
Tailwind should update behind the scenes. So check this out. If I were instead to set it to red or something like that, you can see now anywhere that I reference.
Okay, I need to go back to see exactly where. I think you applied the color black in the body. So we'll go back to our layout here. I just need to scrub back a little bit, get to the tags. Okay, so
itself, I want it to be a black color. So I could set class of BG black, like so.
All right, so I'm just going to go to body class px10. Let's see what we got there. Okay, class. Oh, hey, welcome to the stream, Fractal Cow. Yeah, I'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to finish with this first. BG black, not clack, black. Save that.
And yeah, now we can at least see the logo.
Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, it did not. So that makes me concerned that Tailwind actually isn't working as it should. So got everything imported there. App.css is updated. Okay, I'm going to go through the steps again on doing this with Laravel. The reason I'm struggling with this a little bit is because in the earlier lessons, he just used the Tailwind CDN. So rather than installing Tailwind directly, he used the CDN. So installing it directly is new for this particular project, which is why I don't know how to do it. So yes. And yeah, Fractal asks, is PHP still useful to learn in 2025? Why not JavaScript? I know JavaScript too. But PHP is still widely used, very much so, especially with frameworks like Laravel, which make it a lot easier. I actually quite like Laravel. It's actually easier to do some stuff. I know it doesn't look like it with how much I'm struggling here, but this is mostly Tailwind. I'm mostly having a problem with Tailwind because I'm not good at styling things. But Laravel itself is actually pretty slick in terms of how it does stuff. It's got a lot of built-in stuff that's really useful, and a lot of companies still use it today to style their stuff. The reason I'm learning it today is because I have a job interview tomorrow with a group that uses Laravel. So, I'm bashing my head through it so I can at least talk about some of the vocabulary and seem intelligent in the job interview. Rock says, should your theme color start with dash dash? I don't know. Does it need to? Like this? I genuinely don't know. I've never worked with Tailwind variables before like this. Oh, thank you, Fractal. Yeah, we'll try that. I don't know. And I might need to restart my server too. We'll try that. Yeah. I don't think I should need to, but just trying stuff. Nope. Okay, still doesn't work. All right, let's go through this process again here. So I already did this, but we'll do it again. Yeah, I tried restarting the NPM server. All right, I'm doing it. I'm going to do the install again. I already did it once, but okay, we did that. Now, in my config, we are importing Tailwind CSS from Tailwind CSS Vite. In our plugins, we have the Tailwind CSS plugin. And then resources app.css. Make sure that I'm importing Tailwind CSS, which I am. And my source is /views. And I have the Vite, the call to Vite here. Rock says there is a dash dash in the color dash dash black. How are you referencing the variable? Well, so I'll just show you how he's doing it, and maybe that will add some light here. So we'll maximize the video so you can actually see it. All right, I'm going to go back. So
itself, I want it to be a black color. So I could set class of BG black like so. And yeah, now we can at least see the logo a bit better. We'll also set the text to white. But if I switch over to Zeppelin, I believe it's not an exact black. Let's select this, and it looks like this is our black color. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to open up tailwind.config.js and extend our colors, and I'll say black should actually be this shade right here.
Yeah, so that's why, I'm defining a custom variable here, but obviously Tailwind has changed since this tutorial was written, so I'm just trying to figure that out currently. So here's how I'm referencing it currently. I am just trying BG black, and it's not working. So part of my challenge is even just getting Tailwind to work without any customization. So Rox, if you have any suggestions there of what I might be doing wrong, I think I'm following the instructions. But that doesn't preclude me being a dingus and you know, missing a step. So I'll do npm run dev, npm run dev. But whenever I've run npm run dev previously, I have to use artisan serve instead. It doesn't work with npm run dev. So do this. And then I have to run npm artisan serve again, or sorry, php artisan serve to actually php artisan serve to actually work. Yeah. So, oh, try it. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. There it is. Thanks, chat. All right. I even thought about that and then I didn't do it. Yeah, both servers have to be running. Okay, great. npm run dev. And that makes so much sense. Yes, now that you say it, it makes perfect sense. All right, I'm running npm run dev. Oh, sorry, I got a cd into my thing. Hang on. Cd pixel positions. Yeah, and I was even thinking about doing that and then I didn't do it. And so, of course, that's the problem because it was the thing I didn't do. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's running there. And this is running here. I might have to restart them both. I don't know. Hey, check it out. Nice. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that red background. Thanks, guys. Teamwork makes the dream work. Absolutely. This is why I do things live. This is why I code live. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, I'm too afraid to code live. What if I make a mistake? And my answer to that is, yes, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to be a silly goose. And that's okay because chat is great and they're going to help you out. There's somebody else is going to know more than you do and you're going to learn from them. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. Okay. And I can't tell if that's the right color or not, and I don't really care. So we're just going to move on. I'm going to assume that's not true black. That's my special, you know, well, I guess it is black right now because I set it to black. So yeah, so my two servers that I'm running right now are npm run dev and php artisan serve. So I'm running two simultaneously here. All right, so set that color.
Now, Tailwind should update behind the scenes. So check this out. If I were instead to set it to red or something like that, you can see now anywhere that I reference text black or background black, it will now use this value rather than the default.
Okay, I'm not sure that's going to work. And like I say, honestly, I don't really care. But we'll see. Yeah, didn't work. Don't care. Not gonna mess with this right now. It's something I can come back and fix later. I don't care about two shades of black off of true black. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If anybody knows how to fix it, let me know if like whether this is correct or not. But you know, feel free to drop it in chat. But otherwise, we're gonna just keep going.
Default. But yeah, let's bring it back. All right. Anyways, back to layout, and on the nav there should be a border. So I'll set border B, but that white is a little too strong. So I'll show you a little tip. You can set a border white, but then lower the opacity. And this is useful if you don't have a specific color, but you want it to be a percentage of a color. I could do something like this. And that means white, but set the opacity or the alpha to 10%.
Okay, so doing this, adding a little border. Oh, try remove the dash dash. Okay. Well, yeah, this still didn't work. I'm not going to mess with it. But if you know the answer, you know, for sure. Like I think it needs a dash dash, just given that this has a dash dash. But I don't know, you know, what the correct option is. Just that. I don't think that's no. Yeah, it doesn't like me. That's okay. Me and styling don't get along, so that's why I'm not trying very hard at this. Just one dash? Okay. Yeah. Nope. That's okay. If anybody, you know, wants to do a little research and figure it out, that's fine. Otherwise, don't worry. Color dash black colon red. Okay. This is the last try, though. We're not going to keep messing with this because it's really not important. But I appreciate the help. Nope. Still nothing. Yeah. We can come back to it later. It's okay. All right, let's keep going. So layout, PY4, border B, border white, 10. Okay, keep going there. Fresh. Hey, there's a border. You can't see it, but it's there. There's a little teeny border.
Percent, and that's what I want in this case. All right, cool. Next, on the nav links themselves, why don't we add a bit of breathing room in between them? So I can use space X6 to add a bit of space between each of the items.
Okay, so here we're going to add a little bit of space on the X-axis, which is the horizontal axis, right? Y is vertical, X is horizontal. Hopefully everybody learned that in middle school math. But if you didn't, I'm here to help. So yeah, X is horizontal, Y is vertical. So we're going to say space dash X dash 6. Okay.
Next, I know I want these links to be bold.
Oh, and I think I also need, I need BG black, and then I also need text white, so you can actually read the text. So text white. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Yay, okay. Yeah, you can see we've got our little border here. I'll zoom out a little bit. Yeah, so you can kind of see it's coming together here a little bit. We've got a nice nav bar up here. We've got a very hard to see border. Promise it's there. And then we've got some text.
And then for the main content itself, I want to push it down from the nav area. So let's add a class of margin top of about 10, and that'll push it down.
All right, little margin top there. Margin top of 10. Yep, pushed it down. So that looks kind of bold compared to mine. Check that div there. Oh, font bold. I need the font bold, yeah. Font bold. Here we go.
All right, next, let's switch to Zeppelin and see how long this should be. It looks like we have a maximum width of 986, about 1,000. So here's what I'll do. I'll say maximum width, and if I want to use a custom value, I can type it in here. So why don't we say the maximum width you can be is 986 pixels. All right, cool. So I have a little more work to do here for the layout, but
Hang on. Back up, buddy. All right, 986 pixels. There we go.
And 86 pixels. All right, cool. So I have a little more work to do here for the layout, but I think we can switch over to our welcome view and get started on the main section for the home page. Now, if I switch to Zeppelin, have a look here. I can see a few blade components we'll need to create. For example, what you see right here, that is a repeating theme where you have a little square. It could be a certain color and then a heading. So I see it here. I see it right up here. I see it for all of the headings, actually. That's something that should probably be a component. Next, the styling for these buttons all seem to be the same. And then we have styling for a job card and then an alternate styling for like an expanded job card. Okay, so I'm filing these away in my head. All right, so let's do this. I will begin with one section at a time, top jobs. Okay, so with that in mind, let's wrap it within a section.
Ooh, section.
We'll have some kind of heading that'll say top jobs. And then within a div, it looks like we're going to have 3 job cards. Okay, so we'd have something like this ultimately. But for now, I'm just going to work on the first one. So within a card, it looks like we'll have 3 individual sections.
Okay, so this is where we're going to get into the good stuff. We're going to start getting into using some more... Oh, okay, thanks, Holly. Yeah, I'll look at that in just a second. Here we're actually going to get into some good stuff in terms of building different components and making use of those. Because as he was mentioning, we could break down this layout into kind of a series of sections, each with a slightly different style of card. But it's generally it's the same card, just maybe different size, slightly different styling, that type of thing. And so that's a great opportunity for components. And you'll notice he was kind of looking at that layout in the same way that we would look into breaking out like a React app, right? With a React app, we would look and say, okay, what are the main separate pieces of this layout? And he's looking at it in more of like styling terms, but with React, we would also look at it in terms of behavior as well. but it's a similar philosophy, right? Let's break this down into what parts are reusable, what parts fit together. Can we turn those into components? So I'm sure, we're going to build part of this out as content and then turn some of it into components. All right. Missing the number in the variable name. Okay. Color, mint 500. I don't think it needs a number though, because like this one right here, no number. So I really think I can define. Okay, dash dash color dash whatever. Okay, that's an example of a color. Okay, one more try. Okay, that looks like what I did. Okay, that's all right. Color black, okay, color, all right. So I'll take this, color black 500. And, sorry, that's the wrong file. Even in .NET, it's complicated to install Tailwind. I know. That's why I really only use Tailwind. Like if I really need a site to look good, otherwise I will just use Bootstrap, which is still a framework, but it's a little simpler. Yeah, it's a deal. It's a thing. Definitely. All right, let's look at layout. Go back up here. Okay, I'm just gonna try. Yeah, Bootstrap is built in. Yeah, it is. Yeah. All right. And I need to add that second variable too. We'll just do that here. BG black 500. Okay, doing them both. Okay, do that. I tried a hex value earlier and it didn't work, but who knows? It's probably a combination of things. All right, color black 500. Okay, do this, and then I'm just gonna do BG black 500, like so. That. Womp womp. Nope. No dice. It still doesn't like me. Yeah. Laravel does use Tailwind by default. Yes, that's correct. But yeah, there's something about this that it still doesn't like. I can even try the basic. What's the hex for black? What is it? Well, I guess the number he was trying earlier was 606060. This is the one that it should actually be using. So both of those. Nope. One last try. We'll do color black. Do that. And I mean, I can try. Do I have to like restart my npm? If I define a new variable, do I have to restart my npm run dev or what? Is that the other thing I have to do? I mean, I can try restarting this. Okay, let's restart it. I'll restart my artisan build. Okay, Holly, do it. Yeah, do it and report back. Solve the mystery. All right. Yeah, no, still doesn't work. Okay. Holly's on it, folks. We're gonna move away from that for now. Holly's on it. Okay, welcome, Blade. All right, let's go back here. So that, and we've got div. So we've got a couple of outer wrappers here, div, and then one in there, div, in there, and then 3 in there. These are going to be, for our kind of card sections in the main layout. 1, 2, 3.
One for the employer name, then a section for the title. I'll hardcode this for now, video producer, and the salary, full-time from $60,000.
Okay, so these are the elements that are inside the card. And we'll have H3 in here. And, obviously these are not going to remain hard-coded, right? We are going to be using Laravel's capabilities to pass in dynamic content to each of these. And so how we're going to do that is we're essentially going to have a database, a SQLite database, so a file-based database that's going to be storing these values of these jobs, and we can pull them in just kind of like we would with, a JavaScript application using some kind of a framework like React. We can pull them in, we can dynamically populate as many cards as we need, but for now we're just hard coding it to see how it looks. So full time from 60K, not 60 million, although I wish. Save that. Ah, yes, thank you, Troy. I always forget about those advanced emmet commands. I don't write pure HTML very often, actually. So I'm rusty on the more advanced emmet commands.
Finally, at the bottom, we will have a list of tags. Something like this. And let's create 3 of those.
Yeah, so we'll try that right now, actually. We'll do A times 3. Hooray! Yeah, so like Troy said, you can quickly spin up 3 of a particular, or a multiple of a particular tag by typing the shortcut for that tag and then doing a wildcard and then the number, right? So like A times 3 or whatever. Hey, leader, welcome. We are working on Laravel today. We're building a project with Laravel and Laravel with Tailwind styling. So that's what we're up to. Welcome to the stream, by the way, leader. Thank you for the follow.
Finally, I will have an image for the employer's logo. But with that in mind, I should probably wrap these tags within a div so that I can push them to the left and the logo to the right.
Yeah, so wrap it in a div. Actually, I'm going to move these over by 1. Boop. And put a div there. And one down here. Okay, so wrapping that in a div for styling purposes. Well, if you're new to Twitch, leader, that's awesome. It's good to have you here. Thanks for choosing my stream to pop into. Okay, so wrap that in a div, and then below that, we're going to just drop in an image tag like so. Oh, thank you, D-Rox. I see it. I see your message. We'll try that in just a minute.
Like you see in the image. Now, temporarily for the image, I'm going to use a placeholder service. I think there's one called placehold.it, and then I provide the dimensions, and it should be 42 by 42.
Okay. Let's see, what is that? Placehold.it/4242. Okay, we'll see if that link works. Just gonna. Nope, of course it doesn't. Okay. That's all right. We'll be replacing it with something else later. Shad says, so this is called Laravel. Yeah, it's here. It's oops. There you go. I'll put the link in chat to if you want to read about it. And it's using Laravel as a framework for PHP, and Tailwind is a framework for CSS. So we're using a combination of frameworks here just to make it easier. And yeah, you could absolutely build a site for a customer with Laravel and Tailwind for styling. It depends on the complexity of the site, right? You don't have to use frameworks. You can build a site for a customer with HTML and CSS. You don't have to use frameworks. It just depends on the complexity of the site you're trying to build, what the customer wants, and that'll help you pick the right tool for the job. You can use React with Tailwind. You can use React. My favorite combo is probably React with Bootstrap, just because I'm not a style person, as you can probably tell, given how much I struggle with Tailwind. But I prefer my sites to be more like to have very simple, usable interfaces, where it's very clear exactly where the customer should go, what they should click on, what they should do. So for me, React and Bootstrap are my friends, but you can use whatever framework works best for you.
All right, and that should be enough to get us going. So let's switch to the 2-up layout. Okay, so let's start by giving this some padding all around. How about P4 and then a background color? So if I make it crystal clear, you can see what we have here. Okay, but instead I'm going to make it more subtle.
Okay, so style this div a little bit. And we'll need to take a break here in a few minutes. So Rox, I will try what you suggested there during the break, and then when we come back, I'll keep you all in suspense. And when we come back, you will know whether or not it worked. Okay, so do that.
How about a background color of white at around 5%? Yeah, just very subtle. Let's make it rounded. All right, and then I'm going to set a display of flex. Oh, but that doesn't change anything. Oh, you know what? I think I have an extra div by accident.
Oop.
All right, reformat.
Okay, so we got an extra div. There's an additional wrapper there. Take this one out and this one out. Okay. I think that's the same amount of divs that he has. Tab it back by 1 here. Okay, save. Oh, I took the, I gotta get rid of that background. Hang on. I'm just gonna go back to BG black here. BG black. There we go. Okay, it's really hard to see, but there is, you probably can't see that on, given the video quality, but there is a very slight difference in shading on this card, and I can even change that a little bit to make it easier to see. We'll bump it up to 20 on that background. There we go. That's easier to see now. So card is styling. Yeah. Hey, Juzzy, welcome to the stream. They say, sorry I'm late. What are we building here? No worries. You're all good, Juzzy. We are building essentially a full stack application with Laravel, which is a PHP framework, because I'm learning Laravel. So there is no better way to learn something than just to build something, right? Because that's when you discover all the stuff that you don't understand or you don't know, and it forces you to troubleshoot through it. So the best way to learn is by doing. And the best way to begin is by beginning. And so that's what we're doing here today. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing here today. We're following along with Laracast, which is a wonderful set of tutorials by a Laravel expert, and they're free. So I love free. I love tutorials. I love learning something new. And that's what we're doing. I have a job interview tomorrow that for a position that does make use of Laravel. So if I can speak somewhat intelligently about the framework, that will help me out in the interview. I don't have to be a Laravel expert. I already know other similar frameworks like React and, other stuff in the full stack space. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's more of just being able to speak somewhat intelligently about it. Shad says, what is the editor called? It's just VS Code, your standard VS Code editor. I have a few extensions installed that are supposed to help with PHP and Laravel, and they kind of do. Yeah, this is just VS Code here. And the tool that we're using to kind of scaffold this project is called Herd, Laravel Herd, and it's similar to Vite, like you would use for React. But if you're interested in learning, Shad, if you're interested in learning how to do this, I would highly suggest the Laracast videos. He walks you through installing Herd and kind of getting your project set up. Yeah. All right, let's keep on. We're gonna go. Actually, let's go ahead and take a break now. Josie says, to be honest, Laravel has the best design. Their branding looks so neat. Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen much of it yet. A lot of this has just been styling and me struggling with Tailwind. But when you actually get into the nuts and bolts of how Laravel works, it's actually pretty slick in terms of the sorts of things that you can do just with built-in variables and just out of the box. The things that Laravel can do is pretty cool. I actually dare say, I think it has more functionality built in than React does. With React, you can, of course, install a bunch of stuff to do things that you need, but Laravel just seems to have a lot of that out of the box, which is neat. All right, but we do need to take a break because we didn't take a break at the top of the last hour. So let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish this. Like I said, we probably aren't going to get through the whole project. That's just how it's going to go. I'm going to finish it later this evening. Troy says the syntax is very elegant, as their website says. Yeah, it's similar in some degree to JavaScript. So if you know JavaScript and you know React, even if you just know JavaScript, even if you don't know React, the syntax is very similar. There's obvious differences in the way that you reference things and that type of thing, but it's a very similar syntax to JavaScript. You know, with some, you know, minor differences in symbols and that type of thing. Shad says, is it a privately owned company? I honestly don't know. I know that our friend Leah T Codes, if you know who that is, they just got hired by Laravel to work for them. But yeah, I don't know like who publishes Laravel or whatever. I don't, because Meta owns React, so I don't think they own Laravel. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, let's take a break. Well, during the break, I'm going to try that solution that D-Rock suggested for my formatting thing. And then, yeah, absolutely. We just started celebrating that on 100 devs. Yeah. Leah got hired by React, which I think is really cool. Or not React, Laravel. I know they have always loved Laravel, and so it's really cool to see that they made that happen. Yep, break time. Yeah, so we'll try that during the break. I'll let you know if it works when we get back. So stick around if you want to know whether or not D-Rox's solution finally solves the issue of the variables not working. All right, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back. So it's, in my time, it is 3:03 p.m. So, sorry, 3:04. So we'll come back at about 3:09, 9 after. See you then. Alrighty, folks, we're going to come back in about 1 minute. 1 minute left in the break, so come on back if you're coming back. Please make sure you're staying hydrated. Please get up and stretch if you can. And as always, please pet your dogs, pet your cats, pet your significant other with their permission, of course, and then come on back. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, I tried the solution that D-Rock suggested, and it did not work. That doesn't mean it was a bad suggestion. I really appreciate everyone trying to fix this, but just to kind of show everybody what that looks like. So in the theme folder, I did. So I'll back this out. I was trying some stuff. So using the exact suggestion, I put in color-midnight, and I gave it a custom hex code here. Saved it, and then in my layout file I then said, BG midnight, which is my custom color, and yeah, unfortunately it did not work. But that's okay. We can just use black like we have been. I'll put quotes around that, see if it does anything. But no, it didn't. Yeah, no dice. So yeah, Tailwind does not like me doing anything custom, which is fine. Like I said, we don't necessarily need it. It's a minor adjustment. No, it's okay, D-Rocks. Like I say, all these suggestions that folks have been giving out, I do appreciate. It's no harm. We'll just put it to black, and that will be fine. Well, that's something I can figure out later. This is more of a Tailwind issue than like a Laravel issue, so I'm not super worried about it. Josie says, does anyone know Aaron Francis on YouTube? He has some good content on Laravel. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, and Tailwind V3 and V4 are different for how custom colors work. Yeah, absolutely. During the break, I actually, I just went and I asked ChatGPT. I was like, hey, I'm working with Tailwind version 4, and I want to do a custom color. And you better believe the first thing it told me was, oh, go to your Tailwind config file. And I'm like, no, I don't have one. And I said, hey, I said specifically, I'm working with Tailwind 4, and I want to edit I'm working with Laravel and Tailwind 4, and I want to edit my app.css file to include, whatever. And the ChatGPT was like, no, create a Tailwind config file. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to make it work in my app.css file. Yeah. Shad says, my dad was an old COBOL and Fortran coder back in the early days. He still remembers punch cards. Yeah. A lot of the people that I work with actually still, they started in the COBOL days, coding on mainframes. And yes, some of them do remember punch cards. I spoke with a guy I was at a family function one time, and he was like the spouse of a relative. And I sat down with him and was talking to him, and he used to say that his job in college was transporting punch cards. So the students would make their programs on punch cards, and he would have to put the stacks of cards in a basket on his bicycle and take them across campus to like the mainframe where the actual computer was, because they would do their punch cards in a different location, and then he would have to take them to the mainframe to be processed. And of course the worst thing that could possibly happen with that is if you tripped or something, or your bike fell over and the cards went everywhere. And so to protect against that happening, what he would do is he would take the stack of cards, flip them on its side, and he would draw a line, like a diagonal line, on the side of the stack, so that each card would have itself in a proper order given where the marker line was on the side of on the side of the stack. So you could, if the cards did get out of order, you could find out which ones were out of order by just looking where that marker line was on the side of the cards, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about earlier in terms of like legacy, right? Legacy code, the just in case marker line. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, the app that I work on was created, as Fuel said, the app that I work on was created in the late 70s. The devs were using punch cards in school. Yeah, the legacy code never goes away, never truly goes away. When I was first hired at my current employer, the very first thing I worked on in terms of like tech work was helping to implement an application for budgeting, essentially for budgeting at the university. It was a central application for budgeting, and it was meant to be a very lightweight implementation, kind of a first step toward a larger implementation of this, meant to be kind of a stopgap type thing. Well, guess what? It has been almost 6 years, and that stopgap is still in place. I'm no longer on that team. I'm in a completely different department in a completely different role, and that app is still the app that people use for stuff. It's still going strong, and it's never going away, even though it was meant to be like a stopgap, right? There's nothing as permanent as a temporary solution, and that is very much the case for this application, which I think is pretty hilarious. Yeah. And I will say that when I say worked on the app, I didn't develop the app, but I was kind of managing the implementation, managing the UAT, doing all the, working with the consultants and yeah, doing troubleshooting, that type of thing. It's legacy. Yep. You got it working? Okay. One more try. I'm never going to be able to quit this. All right. Color black. Color black, red. And class is BG black. Okay, that's so Holly, tell me if I'm doing anything wrong here, but my class is BG black. And I just have a raw value here in my theme. Anything different that you can see, Holly? Hey, Cleanum, welcome to the stream. They said, hi, what are you creating here? We are creating essentially a full stack application in Laravel. I'm just learning Laravel, and the best way to learn is by doing, and the best way to begin is by beginning. So yeah, we're just building a full stack app in Laravel to get more familiar with it. But yeah, so Holly, it's still not working. I did save, everything is saved here. Yeah, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. So I think it may have something to do with, the fact that it's flagging these values, it's saying unknown at rule at source. I did try restarting the dev server once. We'll do it again. Here we go. Restarted. Yeah, no dice. I can restart my artisan server too, again. Okay. No. Still doesn't like it. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's all good. It's fine. We'll move on. Yeah, I think it maybe has something to do with the fact that it might not be reading this CSS file correctly, this app.css, given that I've got the squigglies here, but could be. Not sure. Yeah, I could just do a custom, as Josie said, I could just do a custom BG with a hex value. So something like this, maybe. Could do 060606, something like that. See if that works. Yeah, see, and that actually worked. I love your tenacity, Ellie. I love it. That's great. Go for it. Yeah, and that actually worked. I can see the difference in the color. It's very slight, but I can see my border better, and I can see that. So yeah, just defining the custom class here worked just fine. So sometimes the simplest choice is the better one. All right, and I want to go back to this card too. And okay, so this is we're in our layout here. And I want to go to my welcome page here, and I want to change this back to 5. Save. All right, let's keep going.
There we go. Okay, so now I want to adjust the direction. Let's do flex call. So it's top to bottom. And then I want to center almost everything, excluding.
Okay, so we're just doing a little flex box here. And the nice thing about Tailwind is that you can, incorporate Flexbox directly in here. Again, we don't need a style sheet, right? So all the Flexbox stuff, I can just put directly in here. So we're centering our text. We're doing a flex column to stack things vertically. Do that. And there we go. So we can see things are vertically stacked, which is good.
Just a couple parts. For example, the employer should be self-start. So that should be on the far left. And while we're here, let's make the text just a little bit smaller. Next, for this section, let's give it a little bit of padding. So PY maybe 8.
Okay, just catching up on the styling here. And we'll do self-start. And text small. Okay. Class here is going to be PY8. So again, P for padding, Y for vertical axis.
I want it to be bold. And then down here.
And then bold font. If I could spell, that would be nice. Oh, I gotta put it in the quotes.
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing. Let's set a class of flex.
Josie asks, is autocomplete not working? It is not. Because, let's see, did I have Emmet turned on? I don't remember. Emmet is weird with Blade. So we're using Laravel Blade, which is the kind of the templating engine for Laravel for styling. If I don't remember. Yeah, so Emmet is on for Blade. I just have it formatting as HTML, but it does not play nice with Blade. So I was asking earlier if anybody knows of the correct extension that for me to install so that I can get autocomplete, because I would love autocomplete. That would be great. I would dig that. But it'll autocomplete the tags, but none of the styling information, and also none of the PHP, variables or anything. It won't do any of that. So. Yeah, you're right. I haven't installed a specific plugin for Tailwind. I can try that. Just install that real quick. Boop. I love extensions. They're great. Okay, let's keep going.
Flex and justify between. And maybe align the items to the center. Very good.
All right, so down here. Let's see. Oh, this is my layout. I gotta go back to my welcome page. Okay, there we go. Font bolds. And then make sure I get the right div. This one here. Class. Flex. Okay, there we go. There's my autocomplete for Tailwind at least. Thanks for the reminder to install that extension. Between items, center. Yeah.
And then just to be safe, I'm going to set margin top to auto. Now, I don't think it'll make a difference in this case, but in situations where maybe there's more margin to be had, it'll force this section to be at the very bottom of the card. Okay, next on the section heading, why don't we give it a margin bottom of 6, something like that, just to push it down.
All right. I think it's storming outside. I think I can hear thunder. It has been so rainy around here lately, I swear. MB6.
And then let's do this for our tags. So I'll start with just one. I'll add a class of background white. Again, I'm just using alpha here to make it a little quicker for us.
Oh my goodness, it just started pouring rain outside. Whoa. Hopefully my power stays on. If my power goes out, then, hey. But yeah, it just started pouring rain. I also hope it doesn't start hailing because I did leave my car parked outside. So, oh, that's a class. It did hail a few, a couple weeks ago. I think it's too warm to hail though. I hope so. Yeah, it's just rain. At least for now. BG white. And then we'll set that to 10. Ooh, is that hail? It's just really hard rain. Big ones? A big hail? Yeah, it was big hail. It was like nickel sized hail. You know, like an inch across. And luckily my car was in the garage that day, but my neighbor's car wasn't. Yeah, my neighbor's car was parked outside, unfortunately. So yeah, BG White 10, and that's for that tag. I imagine we'll move these tags to components. Yeah, it was big.
About 10%. Let's then add some padding on the left and right and the top and bottom. Let's make it rounded. And I want the text to be fairly small. So let's use extra small there.
Okay. PX2, PY2, rounded, XL, and text extra small.
All right, but now what about when we hover over it? Well, we could say, well, when you hover, set the background to 25% maybe. That looks good, I think.
Okay. PGY 10. All right, hover. BG white 25.
And by the way, a little tip, I know we don't have much breathing room here, but if you want to transition those colors a bit more cleanly, you could say transition colors and then set a duration of about 300 milliseconds. So now any colors will have more of a smooth transition. And I don't know about 300 milliseconds.
So transition colors. You can see how these classes can sometimes get pretty long. Transition colors and duration 300
seconds. So now any colors will have more of a smooth transition.
Okay, so let's test that. There we go. We can see our tag there, and you can see how the color kind of fades in and out. So that seems to be working. My tag is a little bit a weird size, but that's okay.
Transition. And I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it's definitely smoother. Okay, so now think about it. I could do 3 of those, and that looks a little better. All right, what else? How about the employer logo? That should be...
Oh, that's because I've got my... This is wrong. This should be 1, not 2. That's why that's like that. Okay, and then we'll do that 3 times. Again, I think we're probably going to... Whoa. I think we're probably going to put these into components, because if you see anytime you see repetition like this, it's probably a good idea to put this into a singular component. So if you decide to change this styling in the future, you only have to update it in one place. So I imagine we're going to abstract this into a component. Holly says, I got to work with Laravel. Can I see your blade template? Sure. So you mean the layout? The header? The head? This? Mason 101J. And also In Search of Tenacity. I don't remember if I thanked you already, but Mason 101, thank you so much for the follow, as well as Tenacity as well. So this is my, sorry, Holly, I know that's probably behind the chat. You can't see it. There we go. That's the header there. Is that what you wanted? Welcome.blade is just what we were just working on. So this is my outer layout. Oh, thank you, Maya. Hello to you too. Thank you. Yeah, so this is like my outer wrapper layout. So any of like the files that I'm working on, like this welcome.blade, this will essentially put the layout around it as a wrapper. So anything that I define in that layout will be wrapped around the contents of this welcome.blade file. So, you know, anything I'm referencing or anything I put in that header will be applied to every single page, because it's a layout tag, or it's a like a wrapper tag, if that makes sense. Josie says, wait, if you're using Vite, then it should have its own Vite config file. Maybe, I don't know. It does here. And this is following kind of the instructions that Tailwind provided, we are, oh yeah, that's right, we looked at this earlier. We are, importing Tailwind CSS. We're also importing, this function here. Yeah. Hey, Ghibli, good to see you. Well, I'm glad you're able to get it working. I'm still not sure what the difference is, but yeah. So this is my this is my Vite config, which all of this kind of I didn't have to do this. It just kind of happened when I installed Tailwind. And then my welcome will just pull in anything from the layout file, which we have here. So pulling in these Vite sources here, getting the asset, and then the other one was that theme file, which is here in app.css. Sure, we'll do composer run dev, that's fine. I'll stop the server. Oops. Gosh dang it. Accidentally duplicated it. Stop. All right. Oop, not V. Hang on, sorry. Meant to do Control C, not Control V. Control C. Okay, I've stopped both. Terminals. We'll do composer run dev. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is the only thing that should be running right now. The other one is stopped. I'll just get rid of that extra terminal. Okay, and then from there, do I just go to localhost? Or do I have to go to HTTP / pixel whatever? Localhost 8080? Okay. So I'll just go here, which isn't going to work, but I'll go 8080. Nope. I'm sure there's a config for that. Is that in package.json? Wherever you put the default server port. Is that in .env file? Yeah, so that's not working. The one from PHP. I don't know what you're referring to. Shad says, so this has you making a separate CSS file? No, it doesn't. We've installed Tailwind as a package, so we don't have to make a separate CSS file. That's why we're using Tailwind. Oh, 8,000. Okay, sure. Okay, there we go. And I need to go back to my layout and get rid of this custom background that I set. So you can see here it's set to a custom color right now. But if we have in here we have color black set to red. So if I do BG black, let's see what happens. Okay, it's still setting it to just black. Oh, thank you, Mason. Yeah. So yeah, localhost 8000 worked. Thank you. Juzzy says, okay, my guess is color black red is defining a CSS variable, not a utility class. BG, so in the subtleties, hey, in here I need to reference my variable like that. Okay. Nope, still no dice. It just straight up hates me, and that's okay. All right, we'll go back to black for now. I still have the variable defined as red, so if it starts working, we'll know, because my background will turn solid red. Holly, am I missing anything different than what you did? We'll keep, you can, I don't want to put you on the spot, Holly, we'll keep going here. There's plenty more to do. Okay, let's just keep going for now. I am using Tailwind, yes. You will find the problem. Thank you, Holly. I love your tenacity. And I'll leave this pulled up if it helps. And just as a reminder, right now I just have it set to BG black. So if this variable does start working, we should know because it'll turn the background red. So. Okay, Dylan. So I'm in, so where should I be? I'm in resources, CSS, app.css. Oh, I am. You're correct. I'm in the wrong directory. Yeah. I think I've been in the wrong directory for a while now. Yeah, I think I've been working in the wrong directory for a while. Because I have too many things in this folder. So yeah, I've been going around to the components here, but this one, yeah, that's why, because I have like a bunch of example, because when I've been doing this live on stream, I've been doing a bunch of like example projects. And so yeah, I had this one expanded and I was going into app.css in this one. So that's why. All right, let's do this. So yeah, right? The joy of doing things live mostly, right? The joy of doing things live. All right, so let's do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go into resources, CSS, and I'm going to copy this. And we're going to put it down here. I still don't know why everything's squiggly, but I'm not going to, hang on. I'm not going to worry about that. Tab that back. And I'm going to get rid of this one. Okay. Hey, there it is. Check it out. Nice. Thanks, guys. That's one of those things when you're, doing stuff live. Yay, I know, right? So classic mistake. Yeah, exactly. That's one of those things where, yeah, when you're doing things live, I always tell people, like, and Leon has said the same thing. If you're in 100 devs, you know who Leon is. Leon has said the exact same thing, is that whenever you go live on stream, you lose about like 50% of your brain capacity, because 50% of your brain capacity is like monitoring chat and like checking on checking on the time and checking your audio levels and, looking for stuff on your like stream configuration. So you only have about 50% of your brain to actually do the work, which is pretty much what happened here, but that's all right. All right. So now I'm going to modify this back to be, I've got that hex code memorized now. So 606060. Hey, there we go. Yeah. That's like really gray. I don't know that I like that, but that seems really gray. Thanks, Chad. Good to have you here. It could be the color balance on my monitor. I don't know. That's the wrong. Okay. 060606. Okay. I was like, that's really gray. Yeah. Let's do that. Hey, that's better. That's more like the color that we had before when I custom coded it. Yeah. Goodbye, bright neon. Goodbye. Yeah, it was as red as my shirt. All right, thanks, guys. Good troubleshooting, everybody. That was a true group effort. I love it. That was multiple people chipping in, figuring stuff out. I dig it. Very good stuff. I think the reason I was in the wrong CSS file there is because I searched for it, and I didn't pay attention to the path as to where it was taking me. So when I searched for it, it brought me into the first one it found, which was in here. So ideally, I should be CD'd into here in the first place, but I'm not. So, we're living on the edge. All right, what were we doing? I don't remember. Let's keep going. Good group effort, though, folks. Thank you.
Be rounded.
Okay, let's see. What are we doing? Where are we at? All right. So layout, we're in welcome. Yeah, okay. So if we go down here. Yeah, exactly, right? That's why I say, but no, this stuff is valuable. Troubleshooting things, especially troubleshooting them live. This is the type of thing that's going to happen in an interview, right? You can't let yourself get flustered. You can't let yourself get like, oh my gosh, I screwed it up. Oh no. And I used to be that way. I used to be very like, if I would have messed something up live on stream, I would have just been flop sweating. Like I would have just been like, oh my God, what do I do? This can't happen, but now it's like, we mess it up. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe we don't. Holly says I installed Laravel for this, might learn PHP at this point. Hey, that's where the pipeline starts, right, Holly? Yeah. Come to the dark side. We have cookies. Yeah. Thanks, Dylan. Um. Okay. Dylan, I wanted to ask: is your username named after the character in Severance? Because that character's name is Dylan G too. I'm just curious. So we're down here. Okay. And so, yeah, so this is the class for the image. All right, so rounded XL. We actually don't have an image in there right now, but that's fine. We'll put one in there later.
And that's a little hard to see right now, but later that'll be a full image. Okay, so this is enough to extract a component. So let's do this. Let's open our sidebar, and within our views directory, let's add a brand new component.
Okay, so we're going to go to views. And this is where we're going to get more into components. Finally, some good stuff here.
And I'm going to call this job card. All right,
so new component here. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to abstract this kind of all these repeated anchor tags. We're going to pull them out and we're going to put them into a component, which is what I suspected we were going to do. So job card. Oh, that's a directory, not a. I want a frickin' file, not a folder. Job card.blade.php. Okay. A happy coincidence. That's awesome.
So now I can select all of this.
Severance is a really good show.
Over. Cool. So let's swap it out. X job card, and let's create 3 of them.
Okay, yeah, so what we're doing here is kind of what I suspected. We're taking not just the anchor tags, we're going to actually take the entire, everything under the H3 here. We're going to grab all of it. So everything from this div all the way down here. Because I guess that's correct, because we're going to have like 3 rows of cards. So we don't just want to grab the card, we actually want to grab the entire row that the card is in. So I'm going to grab all of this and save it. And now we have it as a reusable component, so we can have as many rows with 3 cards in them as we want. Now, what we might end up doing, what I suspect we'll probably end up doing, is then building another component just for the individual like tags. Because again, these are repeated, so we'll probably have a tag component that then gets referenced in here, that then gets referenced in there. So it's like, if you've never used React before, it's a little bit of a wild idea, but essentially you can have components that reference components that reference components that reference components, and it becomes a tree of components that all sort of compile together into a finished page, each of them referencing a parent. So it's kind of a parent-child relationship. Now in here, so now that we have that job card file created, we can essentially create it we can reference it as a custom tag.
Okay, back to the browser.
So, and notice here what he did it really quickly, but notice what he did here, how he referenced that tag. So I'm going to go back a little bit.
Job card.
Oh, goodness. Actually, folks, the tornado siren is going off. So I'm going to take a pause here. We're going to see what's going on with the weather. There's a tornado siren going off near me. So just for safety, I'm going to pause. We're going to take a break. Hopefully I will come back soon, but I do want to see what's up with the weather because I hear a tornado siren. So pausing for a few minutes, hopefully be back soon. Okay, we are back. I was just checking the weather. Uh, okay, so the tornado siren has stopped, so I think we're okay. I did just go and make sure my car was in the garage. I left it parked out earlier, but yeah, car's in the garage. Tornado siren has stopped. It's still raining, but I think we're okay. Thanks for bearing with me there for a second. But yeah, just wanted to check the weather and see what was going on. Make sure I didn't need to go in the basement. But yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah, so I live in the Midwest, and it's one of those things where you gotta take tornado warnings seriously. I gotta get my headphones connected back up here. Give me one second. Okay, I think we're back. Cool. But yeah, luckily everything seems to be fine. It's just very windy and rainy outside. All right, where were we? Okay, so we were kind of setting up our layout here. We were referencing this job card tag that we created. So notice how he went really quickly through that, but notice how he's referencing this job card layout element that we created. Um, Notice how he's referencing this job card layout element that he created. And he's referencing it as like a single tag. So why do you think he's doing this? Why do you think he's referencing it as like a single line tag rather than like a multi-line tag like we did with this one? So for this layout, it's a multi-line tag, right? But this one, it's just a single. Why do you think that is? Any guesses? Well, this is actually a component too. So this X dash layout, anytime you see that X tag like this, that means it's referencing a component. So this one here, this is multi-line, right? All of this is one component. And we're taking all this stuff in here and we're passing it into our layout and it renders out. Hollylex says, because it has no children, it's self-contained. Yeah, that's correct, right? It's essentially, it's contained within itself. We don't have to we're not passing anything into this component, at least not now. We will, but currently we're not. And so we can just reference this and have it show up. We're not passing anything in, nothing like that. Yeah. So with that being said, it doesn't have to be multi-line. Oh, 1 second. Sorry. I might have just gotten a warning on my phone. Let's see. Okay, yeah, just, oh wow, okay. So my phone is telling me that we have a severe thunderstorm warning with destructive 80-mile-an-hour winds. So I have that to look forward to, which is nice. 80-mile-an-hour winds. Here's hoping the big trees in my yard stay up. That's fun. Right? Stream from shelter. Yeah. No, like I said, the tornado sirens were going off. They are now no longer going off. I am keeping an eye on it. I can see outside the window what's going on. I think we're okay. If I did feel like I needed to shelter, I absolutely would. Don't worry. I'm not gonna, risk my life for a stream. So, but yeah. Okay. If I get another warning, I'll check it. But yes, I want to keep receiving alerts. Thank you, Google. Yeah, the shelter in place should be over. Like there was a tornado warning shelter in place, but it's going to be over in a couple of minutes. So I think we're okay. Yeah. Holly says, is this web components or blade specific? So this type of behavior with, multi-line, like opening and closing tags or like a single line tag, I know that this behavior also exists in React. So this is that you can do this exact same thing in React, where you can have maybe one component where you're actually like passing in some content for a child, or you can have a self-contained component just like this. But yeah, single line tags do also exist in HTML, but they don't necessarily, I guess maybe they kind of serve the same purpose. But yeah, this is something that React does as well. All right, what's next?
And let's create 3 of them.
Yep, 3 cards.
Okay, back to the browser, and yeah, now we're repeating that.
No, I wouldn't
but
say
notice
it's delayed
there's no spacing in between them. Let's fix that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that this is Blade specific by any means, because you can do the same thing in React. All right, let's look at this. Oh, I didn't save that. There we go. Cool. And you can see that this image over here is broken, and that's expected because the placeholder that we were using doesn't work, so that's fine. We'll fix it with something else later.
We'll wrap all of these within a div, and then this time I will use a grid. We'll say for large devices, we want grid calls 3. Next, I want a nice...
Yes, but good. That's a good call out, Edvardo. Yeah, welcome to the stream, by the way. Yes, this X is Blade specific, correct. But the behavior where you can have a tag with an opening and closing or a single line component, that also exists in React. However, the syntax of X dash whatever, that is Blade specific. Yeah, that's how Blade, because, okay, let's ask this question. In React, how do you tell React whether something is a component or a regular HTML tag? Did anybody know that? In React, how do we tell React whether something is just a plain old HTML tag or a custom component? Because they look like tags, right? No, that's a good guess. It's not the self-closing tag. Because I can have components that can be open close tags or self-closing tags, and both of them are valid. Yeah, in React, we use capitalization, right? So in React, if I had a component called job card, I would reference it like this. It would be like job card. It would be a capitalized tag. It would be like that. Whereas with Blade, we identify a component with this X dash, I guess to be cool, right? I don't know why it uses X dash, but that's just how we identify a component. Right. And that's what I'm saying is that in HTML, you can also have self-closing tags. Yes. Right. You can have self-closing tags in HTML, but the difference between a component and an HTML tag in React is that components are capitalized. That's how you tell the difference. And same thing in Blade here, you can tell the difference with the X dash. Because you can have all different types of tags and components or HTML, and the only way to tell the difference is by calling them out specifically. All right, so let's wrap this in a div. I always wonder what birds do when it storms really hard. Like, where do the bird, like, if you're a bird, like, what do you do? You're in a tree, like, especially like the big birds, like hawks. Like, do they just like sit and like ride it out or what? Seems like it would suck. All right, and this we're gonna use. So this time instead of flexbox, we're gonna use grid, and we're gonna say large. And so this is essentially identifying, like, determining behavior based on device size. So on a large device, we're gonna have 3 columns. They fly above it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Nice little gap in between them. So we'll set, it's basically padding in between each of the job cards.
Yeah. All right, so gap is going to be 8. Gap of 8. And let's see how that looks now. So you can see here that mine looks different. So, okay, here, chat. Why does my display look different than what's on his screen? His looks like that. Why does mine look like this? Why is mine vertically stacked? Yeah, exactly. My screen is smaller, right? So if I make mine bigger, boop, there we go. As soon as it hits large device size, we get that responsiveness and it changes itself. So that's what we did here. Essentially, we've set the trigger to change the layout. So by default, it's going to be stacked, but then as soon as we change it to be a large screen, it's going to change the way that behaves. Maui says, maybe birds recognize the upcoming storm so early they just fly away. I don't know. That's why we love Tailwind CSS. Yeah. Well, that's why I love grid, right? So
Yeah, it's starting to take shape. But now notice how everything is right up against the left edge. I think we can fix that by returning to our layout, and on the main section, let's make sure the margins are set to auto.
Okay, so going back to layout really quickly. Layout, and where did he do that? I didn't pay attention.
By returning to our layout, and on the main section.
Okay, so on the main class, we want to set margins to auto. I believe that was MX.
Let's make sure the margins are set to auto. And yeah, now that pushes it to the center. Now,
yeah, you can absolutely do the same thing with flex. I think it's a little easier with grid, but I mean, that's subjective, right? Zoom out a little bit here. Yeah, okay, I think it looks good. We got auto margin on there, so it'll stay nice and centered. You know, it's going to stay nice and centered in the display. Cool.
Now, I know that ultimately we will pass in a specific job data, but for now we're going to leave those static. Okay, next, why don't we update this into a section heading, because I know we will reuse it. So let's create one, and I called it section heading. That's good enough for me.
Maui says, all that was possible before grid and flex, just a little bit more CSS code. Yeah, absolutely. That's why, you know, I say all the time is that you don't need to learn all these fancy frameworks. You don't. To build stuff, if you want to build a website, at minimum, all you need to know is HTML. That's it. You don't need to know anything else. You can build a website with plain HTML. That's what everybody did in like 1995, right? Everybody's just building out there. So many of my college professors just have plain HTML websites, like for their personal pages. And that's fine. It works, right? Sometimes it's cleaner than a modern design. And so, yeah, you can do all this stuff without these fancy frameworks. Don't ever feel like you need to learn a framework. Yeah, exactly. You'd have the table layout, right? You just build a table, set your rows and columns, and put the stuff in the table, and it would arrange it for you. It's definitely boring, but sometimes it's good, right? Sometimes it's clean, sometimes it's better. So, you know, it's a trade-off, right? Frameworks add complexity, add additional features, but they also add complexity. And sometimes you just want simplicity. All right, so top jobs. Okay, so yeah, we're going to turn this into a component, and I'm not surprised, this heading thing. So under components, we're going to make section heading.blade. You can kind of see how we're componentizing all this stuff. Section heading.blade.php.
Paste it in. And then
take that, take this out. And it seems kind of silly, like, hey, this is a one-line component. Like, do we really need to make this a component? But the thing is, as your app becomes more complex, you want to just be able to reference this section heading multiple times and pass whatever heading you want into it and just have every section heading across the app have the same styling. And so what do we need to do here? I don't want every single one of my headings to say top jobs. So chat, does anybody remember from closer to the beginning of the stream, how do we turn this into a modular component that we can pass in whatever we want? Yeah, it's essentially we're making it reusable. Exactly. How do I make it so I can pass in whatever text I want into this component? What do I do? Yeah, I need to turn it into a slot. Oh, that's awesome, Josie. Cool.
And this will be our slot.
Yeah, so this is what's called a slot variable. And essentially just a slot variable is literally what it says on the tin, which is where it creates a slot where you can put some content in, like the slot in a piggy bank. It's an opening where you can put some content. Yep, it's a slot where you can put some content. So now if I go back to my welcome page here, we're just going to go ahead and do this. I'm not going to wait for him. We're going to go ahead and do this. So I can take my new custom tag, my new section heading. So I'm going to say X dash, right, to identify it as a component, section heading, which is my new tag. And this time I do need the opening and closing tag because I'm passing in content. And so then I can say top jobs and put that in like that. Josie says it looks like handlebars. It absolutely does. It's very similar behavior, right? In handlebars, you can define custom components and you can use the same notation to essentially use logic. In handlebars place it's JavaScript, but you can, insert JavaScript logic into HTML. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Moshko says, piggy bank. I like the description. I'll adopt it. Awesome. Of course, Trive. Hello. I'm doing well. I hope you are as well. Dafke says, excuse me, and you don't need to import anything. No, we can actually, since we are putting these components in a very specific location, this is where Laravel is going to look for them. So if I'm identifying these components with the X dash tag, and Laravel just knows, oh, components are going to be in the components folder. So that is, I guess, a leg up over React, given that I don't have to explicitly import them. Hey, Leah, welcome. Yeah, we're just going through learning some Laravel. Congratulations, by the way, Leah. I don't think I got the chance to say that to you yet, but yeah, congrats on the new job. That's awesome. Leah is working for Laravel, by the way, now. So they are a very good spokesperson. They are very good at Laravel, and they are working for Laravel now. What's your role exactly? I know I read about it on X, but what's your title now? It's like it was a cool title. I just don't remember what it was. But yeah, thank you for that, Leah. The interview tomorrow is more of just like a screener. But I do want to be as prepared as possible. So we're going through kind of the project build part of the 30 days to 30 days to learn Laravel, because I want to be able to speak like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, front end engineer and DevRel. That's awesome, Leah. That's so cool. They say thank you. Sorry, did have to tell you last stream. Oh, that's awesome. I was so excited when I read about it on Twitter. So, oh, thank you so much for the follows, folks. We got Deved and S and AmadDev0. Thank you so much for the follows. Good to have you here. And yeah, congratulations to you, Leah. I know you've been a longtime advocate of Laravel, and you've really been a good spokesperson for them. So I'm glad that they saw that. Oh, Dafke Duck, thank you for the follow as well. But yeah, right now we're just kind of now getting into the component part of building the project. We had some struggles with Tailwind earlier in the stream because I am not a front end developer. I do not have very much experience with Tailwind, but chat came in clutch and helped me figure out what I was doing wrong. Amadev says, hello, salute from Indonesia. That's awesome. Welcome from Indonesia. Welcome from hello from the United States. We've got folks from Philippines, Pakistan, UK, all sorts of cool locations. If you're from a cool location, shout it out in chat. I want to know where you're from. Okay, so yeah, we've set up our slot here to pass in like whatever heading we want, essentially, right, into our H3 here. So like I said, when I go back and reference that custom component, I can pass in my title. Belgium, awesome. Oh yes, we are using Ahmad. We are using Tailwind right now, actually, and we got it working. It took a hot minute, but chat helped me out, figuring out how I was being a silly goose. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the way that the one thing we haven't even gotten to yet, and I don't think we're gonna have time to get to it on stream, and I really, I really want to revisit this, is the real magic of Laravel, at least in my opinion so far, is the way it works with databases. Me, I'm a database person, and the way that you can just spin up models and just effortlessly migrate stuff, build factories, do all that cool stuff with databases is so neat. And like I said, I don't think I'll get the chance to showcase it here, but I do want to showcase it hopefully in a future stream because it is just cool. It's so easy compared to like something like JavaScript, where you're like having to, install Mongoose to build out your models and, kind of talk to the database that way. Just Laravel is like so slick with databases. It's wild.
But now I'm not sure if I can always assume the margin there. So maybe that will be applied elsewhere. All right. So with that in mind.
Okay, so I guess we're taking off the formatting here. That's fine. Now, you might say, but if you take off the formatting, how could you possibly format this header, right? It doesn't have any formatting. How would you apply formatting? Well, it is very possible to do. We can pass in anytime we reference this component, we can actually pass in things like an href. If this was an anchor tag, we can pass in class styling. We can do all that. We can pass it into our custom component here. So we're not doing that right now, but I imagine we will shortly. Leah says, I agreed. I love the eloquent ORM. Yeah. I just, I'm going through the 30-day course, and I went through that whole section, and I was amazed at how quickly I got through that section of the course, just because it made so, like, as a database developer, just, it was so easy for me to pick that up. Even though it is an ORM and I'm more of a SQL dev, it was just so intuitive that I was just able to be like, yeah, this makes perfect sense to me. And I was able to pick it up so fast. So it's very, very cool. I like it a lot. All right.
I can do margin top 6 and then remove this entirely. Okay. X section heading. And this will be, what did we call it? Featured jobs.
Yeah, so what he just did there is exactly what we just did, where we have our custom component and we pass in whatever we want. And I'll just add this margin here. MT6. Okay.
Back to the browser, and that works. Okay, now I can add our little square.
Let's just double check that works. Yep, so we can see here, even though we're referencing the custom component now, nothing about the user experience has changed. It is still just, it looks exactly the way it did, even though we're not directly wrapping it in H3 tags. We're just referencing this custom component.
And that should be fairly easy. Why don't we do a span here? And I'll give it a width of 2 and a height of 2, so it's a perfect square. Maybe a background color of white. And then I don't want it to be an inline element. Let's do inline block. And let's see how that looks.
Okay, so doing some styling here, hard coding some styling. Get this formatted properly. Boop, boop. Well, Leah, earlier, just a little bit earlier before you joined, you missed the drama of the tornado siren going off, and the severe thunderstorm warning with 80-mile-an-hour winds that came through. It's kind of easing off now, but yeah, I had to pause for a while to pull my car to the garage. I feel bad for my neighbors because they just moved in, and so they don't have all their stuff arranged yet, and so they have to park their car. They have 2 cars, and they have to park one outside all the time. And I feel so bad because they can't, one of their cars is going to get damaged no matter what. We have so much severe weather. Yeah, it was wild. I was I did pause for a little while. I was like, am I going to have to so my dog is 60 pounds. And I was like, am I going to have to pick up my 60-pound dog and get him down the basement stairs into the basement? Yeah, but luckily didn't have to do that. The tornado siren, went off. The warning is over, so we're good. But hey, that's what you get when you live in the Midwest. It's, we don't have earthquakes and we don't have hurricanes, but what we do have is tornadoes. Leah says, that would stress me out so bad. I'm always scared of something happening to my car. Yeah, I will say I have had the same car for the past 16 years. So there's not much more that can happen to my car. I'm pretty okay with it. I've had this car for 16 years. It's fine. It's, it's scratched all the heck. It already has hail damage. It's all good. As long as it runs, I don't really care.
And yeah, that's okay, but maybe.
Okay, let's see how this looks. D-Rock says, my car has seen it all too. Yeah, it absolutely, once you, it's almost freeing in a way. Once you get to a certain point, you're just it's okay. So you, you scratch a little bit, it's fine. Not going to get any worse. So yeah.
Maybe we should change this up. Maybe this will be wrapped within its own div, and then we'll have a span followed by the H3. Yeah, if I take that approach, then I could do something like inline flex, item center, and I can even add a little bit of a space in between the square and the heading itself. Let's have a look.
All right, so just kind of adding a little bit more flexibility to this, taking away the H3, and wrapping it in a div for just additional styling. We've seen this a lot. Yeah, I've been wanting to get a new car, but I want to get an electric car. And that doesn't seem like it's going to be happening anytime soon. So but I do have a Toyota Corolla, so it'll pretty much last forever. Like you could pretty much drop a Toyota Corolla off a bridge and it would still run. So I'm pretty happy with my car. It has a CD player, so I could play CDs if I wanted. Flex items center. The only thing it doesn't have is it doesn't have Bluetooth, which I wish it did, but it's too old for that. All right, gap X2.
Yeah, and I think that
Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, it's fine.
looks pretty good, actually. The only tweak might be the heading should be bold and a little bit larger than the regular text.
I like that, Dylan. They say Corollas are the Nokia of cars, and I think they absolutely are. They're everywhere. They're pretty much indestructible. And mine is a gray Corolla too, so it's like the most. I have lost. There was one time I lost my car in a parking garage for like 30 minutes, just because it was just so nondescript. I couldn't find it. So now I slapped a bunch of bumper stickers onto my car just so I could like see it, because it is the ninja of cars. It just, you don't see it in a crowd. Okay, there we go. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks good. It's fine.
And there we go. We have our section headings. Cool. So now if we switch back to welcome, yeah, we have one section for our featured jobs. We could have another section for, what would this be?
Okay, let's go back to welcome then, and let's add another section. Oops. Section. There we go. Okay. And then we're also going to pull down so here we see the reusability of components, right? I can take this, and I'll get rid of that. I can take this and I can reference this component again. It's going to apply all the same styling. Whoop, now come on. There we go. Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that, Leah. That is the specific series. You're correct. Yes, it's the 30 days to learn Laravel. I highly recommend it. It's been very good so far. I'm on a bit of an accelerated timeline, given the interview tomorrow, but I've gotten through this much of it. So like up until like day 20. And I actually did like this first set of lessons, with the very basics of just getting familiar with Laravel and PHP. I did this first set of lessons actually 3 times on purpose, because the best way to learn. Okay, chat. What are the 2 components to learning anything? You know this, chat, if you've been on my streams. How do we learn stuff? Two tenets to that. How do we learn stuff?
Our tags, and then another section for our recent jobs.
I like that. Dafke says doing it a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The 2 things that I generally say are repetition and application. Yeah, which is basically what Leah said: spaced repetition and active recall, if you want to be use fancy words, which I like. But yeah, it's essentially repetition and application. So the reason I did those first 6 lessons 3 times, I did them once by myself, I did them once on stream, and then I did them again to see how much I could remember. So like, just hearing what he was asking us to do and then not waiting for him to do it, just doing it myself. Yeah, it is the best way to do it is by just repeating those concepts over and over again. So don't do a lesson and then just never look at it again. Do it and then apply it, code along, and then come back 3 days later and do it again. Now I'm short on time in my case, but I am going to do, like, regardless of how tomorrow goes, I'm going to go back and do these lessons again and just write them out again from scratch, do everything again, because that's how you make it stick in your brain. Yeah. And Dafke says motivation ? Motivation is tricky, right? Motivation is tricky. If you rely on motivation to learn, that makes it a lot harder. Especially for those who, like me, like I have ADHD. And so motivation is really difficult for me. That sort of internal drive to actually finish something. I have struggled with that my entire life, and I still struggle with it. So for me, I have to find external sources to kind of push me along. In this case, it's an interview. I got to learn this stuff. I gotta have the interview. But the other thing is the fact that I make a plan to stream about it, right? The fact like that's how I learned Python. I had been wanting to learn Python for like a year and I kept putting it off. And then I was like, you know what? Frick it. I'm going to go on stream and I'm going to learn Python live. Like that is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it until I've learned it. And that worked because I knew like, okay, I'm starting a Python series. I have to keep up with the lessons. I have to know how to explain it. I have to get on stream and talk about it. So for me, I need the external sources of motivation, quote unquote, to push me forward. I can't rely on my internal self. Yeah. Yep. So find something, whether it's a friend that you study with, whether it's, an online group that you study with, whether it's just a certain time of day that you choose to study and then you reward yourself. Whatever, maybe you're really excited to build an application and you need to learn a new language or framework to build that thing. Find something external to you that's going to give you that drive to learn that thing. That's the secret. And then repeat it and apply it and you can learn it. And as Leah said, teaching others is a great way as well. Yeah, 100%. I will sometimes think that I understand something, and then when I come here on stream and I have to break it down into like simple language and just talk about it plainly, if I find that I can't do that, that means that I don't understand it. So that's the best test. Can you explain it to somebody else in plain language? If you can't, then you don't understand it. Yep. Dafke says, I'll join your ADHD club. Yeah. And to be clear, like I'm not just saying that. I've been diagnosed by a psychological professional, all that good stuff. So yeah, it's very real, and you got to come up with strategies, right? Otherwise, you're just gonna sink. And as Leah said, yeah, if you want to take this course, I really like it. All the classes are free. All right, let's get through this. We got a couple minutes left in this section. Let's go ahead and get through it. So we got another section here, and then a third. All right, so we've got tags and recent jobs. Moshka says, and don't listen to influencers. Very much agree. Yeah. I mean, I would say don't listen to anybody on the internet. How do you validate them? How do you trust them? Just, take information, but pass it through a lens of skepticism and try things and see what works for you. Heck, don't even listen to me. I mean, take what you need from me, take what you need from anybody else on the internet, and, apply it through your lived experience and do that.
Switch back, and there we go. Now, clearly, we need a little bit of space in between each of these sections. So in situations like this, what you can do is wrap all of it within a root, and then I could apply something like a space y of 10. And that way, there's an equal amount of space in between each of the children, as you see here. All right, next up.
Okay, I didn't miss what you did there because I was doing the thing. All right, space y10. Space dash y dash 10. Okay. And I'll fix this formatting too. Looks like garbage. Okay, push that in a little bit more. There we go.
In between each of the children, as you see here.
Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, so you can see down there, those lower tags have some space.
All right, next up we have our tags. We're going to do this very quickly. So we've already created a tag. So this too should be extracted into its own
Yep, and just as I mentioned, so earlier we had that repetition in our job card of these three repeated instances of, anchor tags, right? And so we should be able to do this one without looking. This should be a 360 no scope of a component, right? We should know how to do this. So we'll go ahead and do it. All right, take components, and then we'll just call this, I don't know what he's going to call it. I can rename it if I need to. We'll just call it tag dot blade.php. And I'm just going to drop in all of this. It's got all of our styling, except instead of tag, I'm going to say slot. So take that, and then anything we pass into that component is just going to get slotted right in there. And so instead of having to have this repeated styling, I'm just going to reference my component. So I'm going to say x dash tag like so. Do that. There. And then whatever those, I should have saved the text, but I didn't. So, but we'll need 3 of them. We'll just say, for now, we'll just say tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, tag 3. There we go. Save it. All right. Yep. Check it out. So now we just, didn't need him telling us how to do it at all. We just knew how to do it. We've got all these tags on each instance of our cards. And our layout looks much cleaner now. So if I minimize the sidebar here, you can see that our layout is much cleaner, even though my divs are all over the place. I can clean that up a little bit. Back these out a little. There we go. So yeah, super clean layout now because I'm able to reference those custom components.
Component.
But yeah, we'll see if we did it right.
Tag.blade.php. Paste that in. This will be our slot. Okay, so now I can swap these out with X tag. Now again, keep in mind, we want these to be configurable, so ultimately I would probably pass in a tag, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. For now, I'm keeping this all static. All right, so now back to welcome. Yeah, right here, I could have one of these. And
yeah, so now that we have this, this tag component, we can also reference it in other locations as well. So down here, actually I should have copied that. Where was it? There we go. Just gonna grab one of these. And so now down here below our section, below recent jobs, yeah, we could add some tags down here if we wanted to. Like that.
And then let's say YY9P. Let's have around 10 of them. All right, switch.
Yeah, so move this down. That there, that there. I imagine there's a command to do this, but hey. Bunch of tags. Cool. And then when I do that, down at the bottom, you can see bunch of tags. Hooray! Cool. It works.
Switch back, and yeah, that looks okay. Now, once again, they need a bit of room to breathe. So we'll say, once again, MT6. And I'd like to add a little space in between each tag.
And then ideally, right, in the finished version, what we're not going to be hard coding, like he mentioned, we're not going to be hard coding 10 tags for every single card or whatever, right? We're going to be creating these components dynamically based on the content that we're pulling from our database. So not doing it, where we're hard coding anything ideally, but for now, just to kind of get a feel for the layout, that's why we're doing this. But the cool thing, like with any sort of template engine or framework, is that you can include logic in here. Like for example, in this div, you could include a for each, right? You could include a for each loop that could loop through and only say, okay, well, we got 10 tags back from the database that are associated with this card. I'm going to generate 10 tag components and put the tag text in each one. So that's what we would do.
How about space X1? And that's what we get. And then, yeah, these tags probably need to be a bit larger. So it sounds like we should have 2 different sizes of tags, maybe extra small and then a base size. Oh, and by the way, I put this in the wrong section. So let's fix that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, grab that and put it up by 1. Yeah, so it should be under tags. Okay, save it.
You were waiting for me to fix that. Like so. All right, so I think we made pretty good progress here, but we're going a little high on time. So in the next episode, we will work on the expanded job card. And by the way, if you want, why don't you get a head start and see how your version compares to mine? Okay, so we're going to wrap up there. Again, I know we're going fast, but that's the way it's done.
I don't think this is too terribly fast. I think this is actually a good pace. I like this. based on kind of what a bit, but because I've already gone through the slower lessons, this is making a lot of sense to me. So again, this is repetition, right? I've already gone through the individual lessons where they talk about this stuff, and so now going through it at a faster pace really isn't that much of a challenge. And I was able to kind of anticipate where he was going with some of the component stuff and that kind of thing. So, the thing that tripped me up the most is the styling, and that really doesn't matter. So yeah, I think I've got a pretty good grasp of the basics of this. I do have a hard cutoff in about 30 minutes. So, what we're going to go ahead and do, I think, is we are going to go ahead and sort of transition to the free discussion period of our stream. I like to save a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes at the end of each stream before we do our raid to kind of just talk about whatever you like. So, yeah, we got through this. We got through this lesson, which I think is great. I'm going to finish the rest of it tonight. But we will go back. We are going to continue this. I do want to build out this whole project on stream. Just won't be today, because as we've seen, things always take longer than expected when you're on stream, and that's fine. And we did solve a few interesting issues, so I like troubleshooting. But yeah, let's kind of transition into the free for all part of the stream where y'all can, ask me about whatever you want, or if you want me to go over anything again that we went over in this discussion, if there's something that's not quite making sense, we can do that. Yeah. So what questions do you have? What topics do you want to bring up? Also, too, the storm is finally over, so hooray for that. My yard is going to be my backyard is going to be an absolute mud pit, but that's fine. It already kind of was. Yeah, the wind has stopped too. That's good. Did anybody? I can't remember if I asked this last week or not. I think I did, but I'll ask it again. Anybody watch the last episode of Severance? I think it was pretty great. Oh yeah, because I think I mentioned that maybe I didn't like it quite as well as the first season finale, but it was still pretty good. No spoilers though, please. Oop, my chat just kind of blitzed out there. Okay, whoa, sorry. Okay, I think we're back. Udkar says, I heard PHP is criticized for its performance. It's slower than oh, you mean Laravel. Okay, yeah, I heard Laravel is criticized for its performance. It's slower compared to other frameworks, but I think it really has a rich ecosystem and a very good ORM. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a very complicated, it's a very complex framework. And so, the more complex that a framework gets, the slower it's probably going to perform, right? The closer you get to the simplest version, it's going to be faster. And then it's kind of like, the whole Python versus C kind of debate, right? There's a trade-off between performance and usability and accessibility, and a lot of these frameworks kind of walk that line, right? But I do agree. I think yeah, exactly. Batteries included frameworks are slower, 100%. And that's just because there's more stuff, right? More stuff just takes longer to run. But I think in this case, I think in Laravel's case, in my very limited experience, I do like what it brings to the table. As I mentioned, I like the ORM aspect, even though I don't normally like ORMs, just because I'm a SQL developer and I prefer writing pure SQL for the most part. I do like Laravel's ORM capabilities, just the utility that it brings to quickly spinning up a database, making changes to a database. There's some trade-offs in that I sometimes wish I could just write a SQL statement, but I mean, it is very usable in that regard. Yeah, it has a very rich ecosystem. It's very widely used. There's a lot of support. It has a lot of interconnectivity with other frameworks. So yeah, I dig it. It's good. Ghibli says, I need to start watching Severance one day. It's so good, man. I mean, it does require a subscription to Apple TV. I totally get it. But if you can watch it all within the free trial and be strategic, and there is a free trial period. It's like 2 weeks or something. If you can binge it all in 2 weeks and then cancel, then you're golden. You won't have to spend anything. Or, other methods. It's up to you. I'm not advocating for anything. If anyone from Apple is watching, I am not referring to anything specific. All right, anything else y'all want to talk about? Nobody's very chatty today. It's interesting. Some streams it's like nonstop, like people have all these questions at the end of the stream, and some folks, some days it's crickets, and that's okay too. It's all good. I never know going into it. Ghibli says, tempting. Didn't realize they had that long of a trial. Maybe I can avoid the pirate life after all. Yeah, I would have loved to have done the the trial and then bounce, but I did decide to sign up to watch the season in real time. So yeah, I am gonna cancel here soon though. I might watch Ted Lasso. I don't know, but I was really just in it for Severance. Silo is another good show though. Silo is really good. I read the book. I actually read the Silo books years ago when they first came out. I started with the short story that started the novel series. I started with that, and then I read the novels, and yeah, so Silo is good too. Yeah, Dylan says I really enjoyed Silo. Yeah, it's if you, I would suggest reading the books, at least the first one, which kind of covers the first season of the show. It is well worth your time. It's a pretty accessible sci-fi novel. Hey JB, welcome to the stream. We're actually just we finished with kind of the content, the educational content for today, and we're just kind of spitballing. So, JB, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to talk about, we're in the free for all part of the stream. Kind of toward the end here. But yeah, there's so much good stuff coming out soon. I There's a D&D campaign I'm really excited about that's starting like on April 3rd. Um, like an actual play, like broadcast session that I'm really excited about because I'm a nerd. Um, and there's something else I was excited about too that's coming up. Oh yeah, Game Changer on Dropout is has a new season coming up in like on like April 7th, which Game Changer is like the best game show of all time. I know I'm advocating yet another paid streaming service, but like Dropout is really worth it. It's like $6 a month. So many good shows. No matter what you like, you can find it. And Ghibli says, "Oh, D&D, yeah, 100%." I've gotten really big into D&D in like the last year, both Dimension 20 and Critical Role. JB says, like, I like actually, but only so much of it is on YouTube. Yeah, yeah. None of the newer seasons are on YouTube. And yeah, if you're like, do I really want to pay $6 a month for like Dropout? Am I gonna like what they have? Then you can go to the Dropout YouTube channel, and they have a bunch of like trial episodes of various shows for free. So usually like the first few episodes or some select episodes of shows, you can watch them there on the Dropout YouTube channel for free and see if you like the content. And if you don't, then you don't have to pay for it. And if you do, then it's well worth $6. It's like my favorite streaming service, I gotta say. Because yeah, they have all the yeah, they have like Game Changer, actually, um uh Very Important People, which was nominated for an Emmy this year. Um Very Important People is a trip. And yeah, all the seasons of Dimension 20, like D&D play, which is great. Yeah. If you liked back in the day, if you were on YouTube and you liked College Humor, that channel, which I did, that is it's Dropout is College Humor. It's just on its own streaming service now. But yeah, JB, I'm also a massive nerd, and I love actually because I like to try to figure out what the nerdy answer is. Leader says College Humor is fantastic. Yeah, well that's the thing. They're on Dropout now, so they got yeah, they got so essentially what happened is College Humor got bought by some you know conglomerate company that decided they were going to shut them down, and so Sam Reich, who was like the head of content at Dropout, or sorry, at College Humor, decided to buy the company and like took a huge chance on it. They had to fire everybody and um, took a huge chance on it, rebuilt the company, turned it into a streaming service, and it's like super popular now. So it's great. Ghibli says, once I get that software dev job money, I'm going to definitely look harder at streaming services. Yeah, hey, you got to do what you can do, right? You got to be careful about your money. You got to stay within your budget. And yeah, there's tons of free stuff from Dropout on YouTube, so you don't have to pay. Yeah, it's all good. Udkar says Squid Game is also popular, and I think Squid Game 3 is releasing soon. Yeah, I don't have Netflix, actually. That's a streaming service I don't subscribe to. There's some stuff on Netflix that I'd like to watch, but it's not worth the money for me, so I don't. Yeah, it's good for them. They're worth at least 50 million. Yeah, but yeah, Utkar, the Squid Games one was really good. I never watched Squid Game 2 because I didn't have Netflix then, um, because it's like ridiculously expensive now. But there's some stuff I really liked on Netflix. Like I want to watch. I used to really like Voltron. Like that's my profile pic for Twitch is Voltron. She-Ra, really good. Um, and what was that one? Is Legend of Vox Machina on Netflix? I think it is. Yeah, and that League of Legends show I wanted to watch. Can't remember what it's called. Arcane. Yeah, I wanted to watch that too. But hey, can't watch everything. We can't subscribe to every streaming service, can we? As much as we might want to. I'm subscribed to Paramount Plus just for Star Trek. Like that is the only reason. I've actually been meaning to cancel my subscription because the new Star Trek season doesn't come out for like 3 months. So yeah, Vox Machina. Yep. Vox Machina, interestingly enough, the Legend of Vox Machina is actually based on a live D&D session. If you didn't know that, it was originally played out as a series of live D&D sessions, and then they turned it into a TV show. Vox Machina is Prime. Okay. Yeah, they used to be nice. I know. Oh, Ex Machina. Yeah, the Ex Machina movie. That's a different one. Vox Machina and Ex Machina are two different properties, but yeah, Ex Machina is a really good movie. 100%. Yeah, a lot of the things that we see out of generative AI and LLMs now, except without the physical body, are very similar to what you see in that movie, right? Oh, thanks, Crisis. Vox Machina is Prime. Yeah. The thing is, Prime has ads now. Amazon Prime has friggin' ads, so I can't even watch it. I can't watch Amazon Prime anymore because it has ads. Because I hate ads. They just make me angry. So I can't watch Amazon Prime anymore. Ghibli says, yes, I love the Critical Role crew, mainly followed by the Mighty Nine. Yeah, I'm not actually a huge like Critical Role fan. I really like what they do, and I like a lot of the players. I just don't, have the attention span for the long campaigns that they do. That's why I prefer Dimension 20 because the campaigns are a lot shorter, like 8 episodes. Um, but my favorite D&D live play of all time, Ghibli, is definitely Calamity, EXU Calamity, which is a Critical Role property. Leader says, you hate ads. Have you been on YouTube recently? Well, I'll tell you what, Leader. I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't see any ads. And yes, am I selling out to Google? Yes. Does it make me not have to see ads? Also, yes. So yeah, I actually do pay for YouTube Premium. Yep. So that's another subscription service that I pay. Oh, hey, Kobinja, welcome. Hello from Germany. Or because here in Northern Germany, we don't like to talk that much. Uh, well, hello. Good to have you here, Kabinja. We're just kind of wrapping up. We're kind of in our free for all discussion period. We're just talking about whatever. Right now, we're talking about streaming services and how some of them suck now. Graces says, I'm approaching the point of ditching streaming services again. I'm fine to pay for content when it's easy to do so, but they're making it harder and harder to just pay for the content. I agree with that. Yeah. And even if you do pay for content, you don't really own it, right? Like you can pay to like buy a digital movie, but then they could take it away at any time, right? Yeah. Yeah, Ghibli. Forgive that you're not a hardcore critic. Yeah, I'm just did it for the guest spots for the Exandria Unlimited, Calamity, Divergence, Downfall. I'm just in it for those. They say I also haven't been able to watch in a while because oof, 4 hours of focus on them is hard. See, that's my problem. Is I just can't focus for like 300 episodes that are each 4 hours long. I just physically can't. Donald says, "What's the best shows out right now? I need shows to watch." Like I was just kind of talking about saying how great Dropout is. Their shows, Game Changer, a new season of Game Changer is coming out soon. Um, Very Important People. Actually, those are all great shows. $6 a month for Dropout, you get all that stuff. Dimension 20 is great. Um, but as far as like prime TV shows, I would say Severance just finished their season, really great. Ted Lasso is really good. Um, HBO has The Pit. If you like medical dramas, if you like ER, you'll probably like The Pit. I like ER. I like high stakes medical dramas. So The Pit is really good. The Last of Us is really good. The next season, the second season of The Last of Us is coming out soon, based on the second game. So The Last of Us is incredible. Kobinja says streaming services. I canceled my Netflix sub recently. Yeah, I don't have Netflix anymore either. Don't see the point in paying for four devices when I just have one just to have 4K, right? It's so stupid. I know. It makes no sense. Donald says, I work in medical IT. Oh, well, I've heard a lot of medical professionals, like doctors and nurses, say how accurate the pit is. So you might actually enjoy it. Um, but given whether or not you want to relive that environment outside of work, I don't know. But you might be interested to see like some of the devices that they use in terms of like technology devices. Yeah, because I've heard that even that's very accurate. Like the down to like the technology that they use is extremely accurate. Oh, that's cool. Dafka and Doddle, you both work in medical IT. That's cool. So, when you say medical IT, is that like device support, like where you have to go out and like if a device isn't working, like a medical device isn't working, you have to go out and like fix it, or is it more of like developing apps and stuff? Is it more hardware or software? And Crisis says that's the reason I couldn't watch Silicon Valley. It was just too real, right? Well, that and Office Space. I feel like Office Space is going to be relevant forever. Oh, both. You do both. That's so cool, Dafke. Wow. Like that is like doing that kind of work. Like that's like real like life or death impact. That's so cool. Kobenja says the only streaming service I'm currently sub to is Disney Plus, mainly for Star Wars and Marvel, but also for older shows like White Collar. Yeah, me too. I have Disney as well. Um, my problem is that some of the services I'm subscribed to, like I share with other people. Like I've given them, they have secondary accounts like on my thing. So if I want to cancel that service, it's like, okay, well now I got to take it away from this other person too. So I'm too nice for that. Oh, Doddle, you do medical in imaging informatics. Oh, very cool. Okay, yeah, I'll have to check out that link. Dafka says, but I only work for eye doctors. Hey, that's important. I've spent a lot of time at eye doctors in my life, and so I value what you do because that's very important for my vision. COVID just says, for those who haven't seen White Collar, what are you still doing here? Go watch it. Yeah, it's very good. It's a good show. But yeah, as you might imagine, I have some vision issues, so I appreciate what you do, Dafke. All right, let's sort of start casually looking for a raid target, but we can still keep chatting. We're just gonna kind of get in here. Always takes me a minute to get the raid screen pulled up. Okay. Doddle says a couple of my coworkers went to the same college as me. Oh yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Um, I went to Purdue University as a student. I did my undergrad and my master's there. Um, and yeah, it's a huge STEM school, like just like almost entirely STEM. And so yeah, tons of computer science professionals, tons of engineers, tons of astronauts. Like the vast majority of astronauts graduate from Purdue. So yeah, it's a good school. Oh, thank you, Dafke. Glad you like the vibe. Ooh, interesting. Utkar says that the new type of LLM built by Inception Labs called Mercury Coder. It uses text diffusion instead of normal line by line generation and response is faster. It's quite impressive. Wow, yeah, there's always new models out there that are going to revolutionize everything, right? Never know what's coming up next. I have tried the new image generation model that OpenAI released, the one that just came out like last week, and it is nuts. It's wild what it can do. I'm a Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Okay. All right, let's see about rating somebody, shall we? And as always, you all get a say in this. We're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. So we usually try to keep similar or smaller size and same category. Leader says, I am not the target audience of LLMs. Yeah, I mean, like I say this a lot in that, LLMs are not going to replace developers, right? And we should all keep that in mind. LLMs are not going to replace developers, just like Microsoft Excel does not replace accountants. It just ends up making their job easier, right? And so we need to keep that in mind, but we also need to not be afraid of LLMs. I think we need to keep a healthy skepticism. We need to understand their limitations, but we also need to learn how to use them as a tool in our toolbox. So we need to be aware of their benefits, but also skeptical of their applications. It's a hard line to walk sometimes, right? We need to stay informed about what LLMs can do, but also not overhype their capabilities to the point where we make foolish decisions based on the output that we get from them. Yeah, Rex says, I was told vibe coders are replacing programmers. Absolutely not. Nope, no chance. No chance in hell. Yeah, not at all. I use ChatGPT all the time. I use Copilot. I use all these tools at my disposal, but I never, ever, ever blindly trust what they tell me because a lot of times they are wrong. So I use them in very specific ways to make my job easier. But for example, I'll use them if I have a SQL query that's not working and it's a really long one, and I don't want to dig through all the lines and try to figure out what's going on. I'll just dump it into ChatGPT and be like, "Tell me what's wrong with this." And then it'll say, "Oh, you missed a comma on line 143." And I'm like, "Perfect, great." And then, and then it's fixed for me. So stuff like that, like very simple targeted applications. That is how I will use LLMs. Right. Pristino, welcome to the stream. They say, what do you think of Lovable AI? I don't know that I've heard of that one. What is that one for? Exactly. Yeah. As you said, funny things occur if you write an entire code base in AI. That's why vibe coding is 100% fine for personal projects. If you are not a coder and you want to vibe code something to help organize your kid's schedule, like go do it. Go vibe code your heart out. Build an app to get your kid to soccer practice, right? But if you are trying to build a code base for a company or something that thousands of people are going to try to use and they're going to trust you with it, absolutely not. Vibe coding should not be used at scale. Vibe coding should be used for personal projects only and it's just for yourself, right? Solve the bug through a nuke. Just delete the project. Hey, I guess it works. All right. So let's find somebody to raid here. I do have to drop off here shortly. I have to get to yoga class. So what do we got here? We want English language stream, preferably. Ooh, this person, fork in the road. What are they doing? Making hard choices. Oh, they're not an English language streamer. I know them. Oh, this person's making an MMO. That might be fun. This person, what are they up to? Oh, this looks so cute. Look at this. Have fun being a human pretzel. I like yoga a lot. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out, Pristina. Thank you. But yeah, this game looks adorable. What this person is doing. Let's go ahead and raid this person. Yeah. So as always, we're gonna raid this person. Please give them the same vibes that you give me. Be polite. Be nice. Support them. Encourage them. They look like they're building something really cool and complicated. I know, right? This is a heck of a project. So I'm excited to see what they're up to. All right. Yeah. Let's start the raid and give them some support. Also, too, before we raid, I will not be streaming next weekend. I will be at a conference. We'll be see you in 2 weeks. Okay, I'll be at a conference next weekend. So see you in 2 weeks, friends. We'll do some more Laravel then. Alrighty, see ya.